Welcome back to the ESL Challenger League Season 48. The European edition continues. It's another day, another fantastic bit of Counter-Strike, and another co-commentator, funnily enough. I'm T-Time, and I'm joined by Wild Deity, of all people. Michael wasn't able to come in, and Wild Deity is going to be having his ECL debut. Wild Deity, how you feeling? We've already gotten quite far into the season, but you know what? Better late than never.
Yeah, feeling pretty good, especially because we have a really nice matchup. I mean, there's a bit of rivalry going on. There's a little bit of history behind these teams, so very excited to see it.
Well, we'll have more than just the one match across all of our streams. Let's take a look at the schedule as well. Obviously, on this stream right over here, I'm sorry if I'm hoping to keep you guys in suspense, but I'm assuming you already know it's in the title. Bait versus Sinners, and then obviously we have Braziluskilus versus Team Space coming up on the D stream. So if you want to go check that one out, it's twitch.tv/ESLCSD. Of course, on A and B, we have Pro League going on right now, so you know what's going on over there already as it is. But enough about the schedule. We're going to be looking over towards the bracket, seeing how things have proceeded so far. Just as a reminder, guys, ECL EU does have a slightly complicated format. We have a round-robin group stage going into brackets. The high bracket, which is shown over here, is the teams that are all pretty much guaranteed to make it to the playoffs regardless. They're just trying to fight for a better slot in those playoffs. So far, we only have SAW and TSM remaining to decide who exactly will be going off to the deeper end of the playoffs. Overall, no surprise over here, though. That's Group 2. Obviously, over here in the mid-group, though, that's what sort of matters a little bit more. Well, that's what we'll be focusing on. Only 2 teams to go forward from this one.
Yeah, and out of that, right, like the first match we're going to be looking at is going to be Sinners versus Bait, of course. And then we've got another match coming up as well. And sorry, not another match coming up. We've got Paravision that has already made it. And then we've got a team that is going to be going up against 9 Pandas. But the team that goes against 9 Pandas will be decided by whoever wins out against Bait against Sinners. And that's what we've got our eyes on.
Of course, we've already lost a couple of teams on the way, but if you're eliminated from the mid-group, you are still in contention for ESL Challenger League Season 49. You do not get pushed down to relegation. That's still for later on. But if you're wondering, what if I want to be in contention for ESL Challenger League? Well, you still have time. You can sign up for ESEA League Season 51. And listen, while Dave and I, we've had our misadventures as well in the ESEA Leagues. Open registration. You can, if you're in Europe, you can maybe even qualify up to advanced if your ELO is high enough. We were in Asia, but we had a lot of good fun in the ESEA seasons in our own time, didn't we, for us?
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, if you're the particular type of commenter who thinks that the teams suck, I think it's an awesome, very humbling experience for you, because that's how I personally feel. I really thought my 2082 ELO would carry me, but it sincerely didn't.
Well, listen, I think not everyone might have your grand 2082 ELO, but, you know, you never know. Maybe we could have the next simple in the chat right now. If you are the next simple, then, you know, hit me up, by the way, if you actually do make it through the Season 51, just in case. But enough about the next simple. Let's talk about the next matchup. We have, of course, as already mentioned, Sinners versus B8 coming up. Both of these teams in the Tier 2 space have been looking pretty feisty. B8 maybe more than most, and let's be honest, with NPL and Headtrick, it feels like B8 could just be better in firepower than almost anyone in the scene on this level.
Yeah, sure. I mean, Bait, they've got so much working for them, right? You've got Headtrick, you've got NPL, and by the way, if I'm not wrong, I know there's a little bit of confusion in the mix about that, but NPL, like an IGL that also has a rating of like 1.23, like that's a bit of a mermaid to find, right? It's very difficult to have that, especially within this level. So Bait is definitely a powerhouse, and they're going to be a very tough cookie to crack. Problem is, we're really never sure what cookie jar Bait are going to come out of, and I'm really sorry for the confusing analogy, but Bait, it seems like they have a completely different flavor every single time they hop on the server, and that inconsistency is probably what scares me.
I think some of that inconsistency was there for Sinners as well in the group stage, and why don't we take a look at that in group stage itself. Of course, before this, like I mentioned, round robins groups were there. Group B saw Sinners being featured, and they didn't do too hot, actually. They lost out to Rush B, they lost out to Sangal, they lost out to SAW, although pretty much everyone lost out to those two. It wasn't a good time for them, but they still pushed themselves to a point where they're in playoffs contention, very largely off the basis of efforts from players like Matchkey and Oscar, who have been continuing to shock us with how good they are. That's not to say that, you know, your point about inconsistency isn't true for Bait. Bait had the same troubles, actually, funnily enough, in the group stage. They were also in the middle part of it, which is why they're in the mid bracket. It all makes sense in the end. But no, Bait also not doing all that hot. 3-2, of course, theirs was a little bit closer in Group C. They did actually lose out to Aurora in the head-to-head, which is why in the tiebreaker they weren't able to make it a top 2 and they weren't able to make it forward. And AMERICA just dominating all the way through Group C. But now it's all about Bait and Sinners to see who can get a date with the Panda. Who doesn't like dates with pandas? Faraz, how are you feeling about this matchup?
I mean, I think you and I probably, we were talking about this a little bit before the pregame, and we're probably in different boats as far as predictions are concerned, because I'm leaning more towards the side of Bait, even if I do think that inconsistency could potentially catch up to them. Now, Sinners, they're absolutely no slouches, but another double-edged sword that also works for them is you're not sure what type of Oscar you're going to see on the server, because when he's fragging out, it kind of feels like Sinners is like suddenly 20 HLTV ranking points above whatever they actually have. So I'm not sure what we'll see on the server.
I'd like to know where we go with the server, though. Of course, Veto for these two teams is going to be particularly interesting when you look over towards the crossover that they have in their map pool as well. Both of them like to ban out Vertigo, so it is a question about who actually gets to ban first. Sinners electing to take Ancient out of the mix, very understandable. Bait, it's one of their home maps. It has been one of their comfort picks since the very beginning of this roster, and ever since NPL especially was added in. Feels like the entries he can get on the map are kind of crazy. Instead, Bait will be forced into picking a Mirage. Sinners pick up an Inferno for themselves, and Anubis is the decider. Any thoughts on this one, Wild Lady?
Yeah, heading into the Veto, it was kind of difficult to predict what would be picked because these teams just have such commonalities, right? They both permaban Vertigo, and I think the one small advantage that you could potentially muster would be from the side of Sinners, and that's just the ability to pick into Inferno, because Bait, they don't shy away from it, but they're also not particularly good at it.
Well, look, you talked about the predictions before, and we do have our predictions. It's myself picking Sinners. I think Sinners should be able to take this one away because they have that Vertigo Veto advantage where they can take out Ancient. You went for Bait themselves. I think Inferno for Sinners is such a strong home map, and it doesn't feel like Bait can say the same about their Mirage. Are you still on that Bait pick? You're not allowed to change it because the graphic is made, by the way, so you can't do that. But theoretically, if you wanted to hedge your bets, this would be your time to do it.
Oh, no, absolutely not. I still think that Bait is the better team, and regardless of which corner of the map pool they're steered into, I simply don't think that Sinners have what it takes to consistently beat Bait. And, yeah.
And maybe the matchup will be decided by a single player. Let's look at the player to watch as well. And of course, for you guys at home, you want to be keeping an eye on NPL. He has been fantastic as a rifler. I think there's conversations about who the best AWPer is on the server. In my opinion, it's Oscar. I don't think there's much of a conversation, but I could see anyone who wants to lean into Hedrick's favor. I also don't think there's really much of a conversation about who the best rifler should be. NPL, ever since his discharge from Na'Vi, has looked supreme. He's looked stellar, he's looked untouchable, he's looked like he's a real talent, and Na'Vi might be regretting not having him in the future if he continues to develop the way he has.
I want to circle the conversation back to the AWPer because I feel like we need to contextualize it with the responsibility of each AWPer. Remember who Headtrick is surrounded by, right? You've got players like a fragging IGL in the form of NPL. You've got rocks like Captain Kirka who are happy to take entry frags left, right, and center. But when you look at Oscar, right, I do feel like his shoulders are burdened a little bit more with taking that initiative, which is why he's almost make or break for the team. So if we're trying to make an apples-to-apples comparison for the snipers, right, I feel like it's going to be very difficult to make because Headtrick simply won't be required to do the same things that Oscar is.
Look, you're saying that right now, but I have to say at the same time, Oscar's got a nice little supporting cast around him as well. Matchkey he's been a real pickup. I've really been enjoying watching out for what he's actually been able to add to the server. And then B6 also always just been consistent with getting some really good mid-round plays and mid-round calls. You've got Morisco and Shock as well who come through as a very solid core, but you're right. These are all pillars upon which Oscar is supposed to stand to get a better sightline with his AWP. And I like that. I like a team that knows the way its bread is buttered. I like a team that knows that you got to respect your elders and, prop them up sometimes. You got to give them a walking stick so they can actually beat you up with it. And that's what I'm looking forward to, Oscar and his walking stick. I don't know why we make him sound like he's 75 years old. Why are you doing this to the poor guy? He's only like 5 years older than me. But the point is, he is taking control of the server consistently, and I don't agree with you on the idea that Oscar is inconsistent. I think you're wrong about that. If anything, I think he's Mr. Consistent, but Mr. Consistent isn't enough to maybe take you through to the finish line up against a team like Bait that have that kind of structure around them, is it?
The problem is, though, that consistency needs to be contextualized with where that inconsistency is coming from, right? And you mentioned that there's pillars around him, but not all pillars are made equal. And I do feel like sort of the fragging department is a little bit lopsided for Sinners, which can really come back to bite them. When things get tough, we've often seen Beastick sort of be the first player to crumble. And, you know, maybe part of that is because of, hey, you've got IGL responsibilities, things like that. But it is really hard to negotiate with those missing pillars when you're going up against a powerhouse that is always going to outfrag you when you're looking at bait.
Okay, I can't take I mean, I just said pillars is a throwaway, man. You made this an entire construction analogy. You got houses in there, you got pillars in there. We got to get our head out of the houses and into the server in just a bit. We're taking a short break. We'll be back with the matches. Stay tuned. Don't go anywhere. A little bit of hiccuping, but we've got a glass of nice cold water to put that away. It's B8 versus Sinners Esports. Gulp it down, baby. It's Inferno.
Yeah, and Inferno does have quite a bit of context behind it, right? Because Bait, this is a map that I mean, I've said it before. They don't shy away from it, but it's not like it's a chef's specialty. So I want to see what Sinners are cooking instead. T side for them. Bait on the CT. Ooh, 3-man setup. Actually 4 waiting for them. And it's a complete shutdown over on middle. Head trick finds 2. Not really sure what's going on with the naming situation there on the top right.
Hey. And then that'll happen. The point, though, is great setup on top mid coming through for B8. Just making sure that Sinners are not able to get that fast A pop that they like to go for. This is one of the issues that Sinners are likely to have, which is that you've played 33 maps of Inferno in the last 3 months. People are going to look up what you're doing on it. And Inferno is inherently an anti-stratable map. I don't think that this Spice round was necessarily an example of that, but keep an eye out for things like it to maybe come up later on. Sinners will be counteracting it with a buy on to Oscar. It's just a deagle, nothing too heavy. And he's A-okay with that.
Yeah, nothing too special early on from Sinners. Just waiting it out, trying to make sure that any utility can be exhausted. Maybe see a prong come out of Boiler, try and get cheeky, but no. NPL happy to disallow any transgressions here. And Bait should be around that they have no trouble negotiating away.
Looks like a disconnection from Magikey.
Okay, we need to have like a handshake agreement right here. Is he Mikey? Is he Magikey? Because I've been saying Mikey forever.
Well, listen, he's dead right now, so I don't think it matters. No, I'm gonna stick to Magikey. I think Magikey's got a nice little ring to it. You know, it's like magic, but Magikey.
Like magic, yeah, okay.
Yeah, all right. Because that's what I always think. Magikey. And other calls I don't get to say until he has a multi-kill.
Yeah.
Still, not really much being found by Sinners over there, as Oscar will be relegated down to not having utility, while the rest of his teammates are going to be pretty lacking on flashes. Shock has 2 flashes. Magikey will be able to pick up a couple of more of his own, so you're right back to a bit more of a default situation. Bait and their 3 MP9s will likely be looking to get aggressive.
Yeah, that's probably the best case scenario. Head trick, early nade. Ooh, wow. Quite a bit of damage actually on Oscar. Kind of counted out before he can really make his mark. 42 points of health. And Bait, this damage is going to go a long way. 3 players within headshot territory. Oh, MP9, Ascenthiel going wild, and he's going to take over Banana. That nade does nothing to pop the smoke even, and Bait, they might be getting away with a freebie on a bonus here T-time.
It's a really good reaction actually planned out from Sinners. They were ready for the flashbang play to come through, but then Beastic just misses the duel, and Morisco's flash hadn't completely exhausted, so Ascenthiel is able to pick up those 2 big kills. That's really nicely done. And with that, with the aggressive positions on Banana as well, it doesn't look like Sinners are going to have a real chance of actually making anything happen in this beyond just some cracked shots. Hetrick's angle makes cracked shots a little bit more difficult. Shock's going to be looking to peek right back out, and Hetrick picks up the one he needed. That's GG on this round at the very least for Sinners. They are not getting off to a good start on their gun round. Maybe this is the plan all along for B8. Hey, just keep your MP9s, you can upgrade into AKs. That's how it works.
Yeah, that's a free deposit.
5 AKs. There are 5 AKs.
Ooh, that's disgusting.
Round number 4, you're starting off with 5 AKs on a CT
not
side.
only do you win with the MP9s, you also get to upgrade entirely for free.
The only thing that could have made this worse is if you also got to pick up the T-side Molotovs.
Oh, yeah, that would be brutal. Not like they've needed them too much. I really like that little nade play as well on Banana, just like popping it as the MP9 is pushing. Sinner's definitely going to be suffocating quite a bit. And, you know, it's nice to see that Bait are getting off to a good start, because I was a little worried about how things are going to go, but so far it does kind of feel like it's a little too tailored to whatever Sinners are going to be able to furnish here on this map.
Nice nade.
Oh yeah, that'll push them off for sure, T-time.
You're going to have to start to worry about those Tech 9s, though, as they're accelerating forward. A flash play from Ascenthiel to try and delay what he thought would be a rush, but his fears are assuaged. They're going to be retreating for now. Sinners, however, not without flash to actually push. They can have a rough time beyond just relying on the train. Trains are nice for transportation. They're very nice for also running over people sometimes, but this might be a bit too much of a pit stop for them.
Yeah, well, Alex thankfully does have a bit of a steam engine going on middle, so that's going to impede them for a little while, and that is going to reroute their efforts into apartments. Can't really push straight through middle. And the problem is, they've taken quite a while, so now they're no longer worried about B. They bring the rotation back, and they'll have to run into 3 CT side members who, of course, have the weapons that were gladly gifted over to them earlier.
Alex starts off strong, but it's actually Hedrick who's stealing all the kills away as they're trying to strafe out. Hedrick's elevated boost up is giving him an easy pick, and they will lose out 2 players, but Hedrick's still alive. He's never really moved from his throne, and that's because he knows who the king is.
Yeah, pretty nice hold there from Alex as well, just to stay alive long enough, be a menace so that they can't comfortably come out of apartments. Mid-player presence also completely demolished. Sinners, though, now they're going to come up with the big guns. AK-47s across the board, maybe a little bit of utility lacking, but it's fine if the entry doesn't really have all the bells and whistles attached. But this is an incredible start for Bait.
I mean, 3 kills across 4 rounds so far for Sinners Esports isn't really telling a good story for them either, so let's see how this one goes. Sinners is going to be looking for a slightly slower approach out for the banana contest. It's going to be util traded out and Morisco to find space comfortably so. You have to start to worry if you're on the side of Bait, because you are giving up a lot of control both in middle and banana. Middle is contested, yes, but a flashbang or a smoke is going to be quick to sway them away, and no one on banana is actually set up to retake either. Unless Captain Kurtka chucks out his own retake utility, which he is going to be doing right now, there's not really a chance of getting too much control back in. By the time they do, though, this is the time that the trigger is pulled. Into mid they go.
Yeah, those are a nice couple of nades as well. They have a decent idea of what the positions are. Oscar, blindfolded still, finds Hedrick. And the pressure on Alex starts to mount. NPL, the man we've been singing praises about. IGL fragger, can he make it out? Nope, shock. Nice little angle to find. And the 3v5 position, I'm not even sure if these 2 players should be rotating over. It's going to be Alex's responsibility to try and create space, but before that even happens, Captain Kurtka finds one through the smoke. Alex needs to go huge. On top of the box position, 30 seconds remaining. Time is of the essence for the T's, but Sinners do end up finding the frags anyway.
That's actually a really unfortunate play for NPL, because when Oscar gets a kill while blind, he assumes that it's a rotator player that he's taken down. NPL, though, in the meanwhile, who actually does then come through, is saying, well, hopefully they're assuming the Cubby player or the Archers player has been taken apart, so they're not going to be Molotoving it. They not only do they Molotov the Cubby, because Shock was boosted up into the corner angle, he gets a ridiculous duel, which you're just never going to be winning. It's a very nice set play from Sinners, to be honest, after the back of the nice opening kill from Oscar. Gives them that first round, and now Bait will be able to pull out the AWP. They're still going to be comfortably furnished up, but still, these apartments could end up being disabled pretty soon.
Yeah, problem is that while we're on the subject of AWPs, I'm not sure when Oscar starts to get that into his hands. Kurtka, you saw him right there! Oh, he saw a little pocket. Zemthil does eventually play cleanup duties, but oof, that's awkward. Shock in the meantime. Mid is his battlefield. It's come down to a 3-on-4. A player starting to be pressed. We've got NPL on the case as well. 2-on-3 would be fine on the A bomb site, but Hedrick does need to pop off immediately as they start making contact. NPL taking the position that Alex is known for. Hedrick wants to try and explore.
Wow.
Head found. Eyebrows shaved for Oscar.
That's a great shot, and not only that, Hedrick's also going out for real estate. He knows the market is low, it's time to buy, but NPL comes through, swipes down his land. Hedrick will have to recede back to the side, but I don't think he's too bothered by it. NPL continues to hold down short, and Sinners' success is short-lived at best unless B-Stick can stick it to the man, and well, there are quite a few of those men, and he's not going to stick it to any of them.
What a comfortable, confident start for Bait. I mean, confidence on Inferno must be through the roof. You got to dial it back to like, hey, we started with MP9s. We've never really had to make too many investments. And, you know, Sinners had a bump in the road there, but we've never really seen a fully locked and loaded version of Sinners. And even now, I'm not really sure what's going on with Oscar.
Look, Oscar, Oscar's not going to be going for the T side off for a while until they're absolutely in need of it. And considering that Sinners have been electing to try and keep the CT economy a little bit lower with these consistent buying patterns, Sinners recognize that it's right now maybe a little bit about just stealing around away any way you can. And these are plenty of weapons to make it happen. The problem is that there's a lot of players out on B for bait that are being set up right now. Sinners only have one aggressively in A. It's Shock, who's gone out for a bit of a twiddle-dee, twiddle-dum. Let's take a look around.
The problem is they've never been successfully able to condition the B Banana players. They've always been losing duels, so they can never feel comfortable at all. Head Trick backs off after a missed shot, and he's going to start to feel pressured, and maybe this is finally the round where Banana starts to get threatened, but Bait have generally been quick with rotations. Oh, Head Trick knows exactly how to line that angle up, and now we recede back into passivity. No reason for them to aggress further, but Head Trick still happy to try and get a little overeager. Not sure if I agree with that, but at least that's info.
Head Trick's been really good at these crouch beats forward into a duel win for himself. He's really been taking the fight to them. Captain Kurt, oh, the shot from Shock on the jiggle is fantastic, but a flash from Nipple is going to be giving him a little bit of information about what's going on. It's going to be a reroute back to the B bomb side. Sinners knows the info is gone, but they also know that Head Trick's ult is here. It's posted, it misses, and it's critical. That could be the end of the round over here. 4-on-2 on the side itself. Essential will be looking for sidelines, and Shock is looking for heads. Essential now takes the P. Good for one, and that's all he'll get. Shock takes over this round all on his own. And with NPL trying to creep into a duel with old man Oscar, he's about to get that walking stick to the face.
Those were some of the most impressive death cams to be watching. Like, you see players die on shoulder peaks, barely a pixel being shown. Man, you see, if I'm on the enemy team right there, I just start blaming Subtick, obviously. But that's some really impressive shooting from Sinners. And you know, you mentioned they're just trying to claw away around in any way they can, and that's exactly what they've done. They've forced a round over, and this is where the economy starts to hurt a little bit as well. Those wallets no longer feeling as heavy in their back pocket. They've come down to just an MP9 on Alex. Still everybody else pretty nice and dandy as far as money is concerned. Maybe not money, just the weapons.
The double apartments setup for Bait is not going to be leaning into maybe even a push forward. No, Alex has decided not to go for that kind of information. Would have been very useful for them to know what's going on over here, but it's a well-timed smoke, about 20 seconds on it. So keep in mind that that's around the amount of time that Sinners can still pretend to have someone in apartments, right? This is when they want to make a move. They know about that smoke being there, so rotation back to the B-bomb side is planned, but they have decided we want some company here as well. 2's a date, but 3's a party, and let's make it rocking on this B-bomb side.
This is a bit too telegraphed. They'll be ready for it. You see Molotov is timed perfectly. They're going to have that fifth prong join them very soon as well. Flashbang is primed, and he's going to run away from the Molotov very soon, and that's when they're going to start to pounce. Head Trick, oh, he's been uncharacteristically missing quite a few shots. 2 players stuck in the cubby, and they've got to deal with the triple box player. How does Head Trick get away with that? Now they start making a dent, but they're not ready for a Senthil. Brings it down to just the 1, and Shock barely has any HP, bleeding out as he searches for the bomb. Has to put the numbers in, but there's an MP9 around the corner. Shock doesn't have the health to negotiate. Bait with 6.
That's a lovely hole coming out from Hetrick over there. Not only does he find the 2 kills, he also gets a tag and the follow-up Essential. Yes, he was boxed in, but they are also even more secure in that setup. I love the fact that they've seen, hey, it's been 2 Molotovs used out towards Banana. They knew there was a player outside of apartments as well. If they've used another Molotov already out for the second oranges to flush Captain Kurt out of position, then they're probably not going to have what they need to actually force out the double secret presence. Then when you get 2 kills on top of that, the fake is sold even more. There was no way Sinners was going to win that round unless they got the punish on Hetrick missing that first shot. Now, though, it's Tech9's, but not quite too accelerated.
Yeah, it kind of felt like it was going to be this desperate push into B, but after a couple pieces of util, they are going to slow down. Regardless, Tech9's can be very potent. They have that 1 hero AWP that could be watching for the more tricky angles, the long-range stuff that the Tech9's really can't try and fight. But look at this from Bait. instantly. They've got the right read, at least for now, but we're not sure where that eventual push is going to be with the bomb. They still have a player in apartment, so they can feel a little bit more confident trying to explore in middle again. But Bait have been really good with rotations overall, T-Time.
Something really cool to see is the fact that they actually rotate NPL over because they know it's a half-fire round on the other side, so they want the rifle there. But I'm going to hold that point, and that all that nerding out might be for naught because Sinners are still targeting the weak bomb site. So far, two-man defenses have worked out really well. Oh, the nade. This nade's going to be great. Put so much damage in, especially with... Oh, he even sees out the barrel. Now it's a first kill for Head Trick. Alex and Captain Kurt coming in from behind. Alex will be able to hold up from the front. Essentil as well. Cannot be Molotoved out. Oscar just watching out with the AWP. If he scopes, he gives up his position, and there's never going to be a peek to come through. A flashbang forward. Essentil retreats, but the bomb is headed back to B.
This is some really good timing for the D's. Oscar needs to catch the rotation as well. This might sell the idea that the eventual push is on B. But Morisco, he's had enough time. He's collected an AK-47 on his way back as well. Just needs to buy time for Oscar to be relevant once again. Oscar will have to be a bit more careful, but no, they're going to try and quickly push this one planter. Morisco, you've got to stay alive here, buddy. Oscar, help is coming. And he hears the footsteps. Essentil will catch him. Surely they have to tap the bomb at some point. And Oscar, I'm not sure if it's too easy to make that communication happen. Essentil with the full hold. There is no way Oscar can stop it. And Bait, they're going to get away with a round because Oscar simply does not want to have an argument here.
It's a really good attempt at the 2 versus 3, especially with Oscar finding that kill. But the second Oscar decides to not retreat back through middle immediately or push aggressively behind to try and get a pincer together, that round is lost because of where the bomb was planted. It was a 2 versus 1 over there. If you get the duel versus the rifle, maybe you keep yourself alive long enough to be a hero, but unfortunately that just wasn't going to be the case there. Bait finds 7 despite the threat of the Tech 9s making them sweat. Sinners will still have a buy. They will still have an AWP for Oscar as well.
And that op, it's... I mean, Oscar's on 7 kills, right? Which is still the most on their side of the scoreboard, but not really seeing too much impact just yet. Captain Kirka finds some information on the way back. I believe he also saw a couple pixels there off the back of a T. So no early pushes will be allowed, and all that utility that's still in their backpacks is going to be good enough to slow down this round even further. And you can tell that Sinners are now transitioning into a much looser style where they're allowing their extremities to make moves happen. The Apartments player a tiny bit more active. You've got some numbers being pulled back to try and fight mid relatively early on because it's generally been a slow default.
This 2-man short defense has been untouchable, by the way. Alex and Headtrick, whenever they're putting their heads together, it just looks like Sinners can't move past, and it might be another round where that same thing is exhibited. The smoke timing, the nade timing, these are all so good. Alex is going to be able to sit behind the smoke and actually have a better angle in from balcony as well. You don't have flashes to flash him off at all. Sinners are going to have to go in completely dry with 30 seconds left on the clock.
And this is a firing gallery waiting to happen, but problem is rotations have been made, and here it is, Headtrick. He's been so good on the angle, and he's not getting caught on the shoulder peak. Sees a player in Apartments, and how have you done that? And you've got a teammate right around the corner as well. Alex being a menace off the top of the porch finally gets shut down, and surely the numbers are dialed in. But before they can even start to feel comfortable, NPL is already on the case. But Oscar, we've seen him overwhelm in these situations. He's got the magic stick in his hands. There it is. Could have been the collab. They know his position, but only 2 more kills to find. Finds the long-range duel, but simply cannot recuperate his bullet in time. Essentil will be getting the defuse.
Headtrick's been a killer, man. Not only does he find the kill and information, the adjustment onto the second player was sick. Alex doesn't even get that much done, despite looking like he was completely set up for success by the position with the lack of flashes, but the fact that Headtrick sort of gets baited a little bit. I mean, I wouldn't really say that, but that's just what the setup is supposed to be. He's been stellar, and considering the fact that he's going up against an Oscar who's not really, he's not really having a slow hand or anything like it either. Very impressive stuff from Bait off the back of their young Gopper.
Yeah, and because they kill Headtrick, right, they don't check for Alex because they're much more comfortable in that Apartments position. Like, hey, we would have probably died by now if there was somebody to protect Headtrick. 8-2 now, Bait. The train has really not stopped.
I thought Sinners were the train.
I don't know, like, I'm not sure where to go with this analogy anymore. Are they that one lever that switches train tracks? I don't know.
I don't know enough about trains.
Runs them straight into a wall. Who knows?
So far, the wall has been these two on the A site. And again, that wall's about to be tested. How many times are you going to smack your head against it before you realize it's a concussion that awaits you, not a passage through? Alex though decides, you know what, I want to make my own passage and I'm going to find players. Utility in their hands. Up in the other one, but B6 the one to trade. Remember, NPL is far away. Molotov out from Hedrick. This will not be doing too much beyond forcing them forward into his crosshair. He retreats. A nade to follow through. Keeps them nice and juiced up. And Hedrick is waiting for them to come in. NPL uses distraction. And Hedrick uses 5-7. 9 and 2. Bait. Keeping it clean.
And I'd like to point out that that is such a good timing in the context of this half for Alex to be pushing. It was brilliant how they've been looking for that apartment's presence for the whole half. And then Alex finally pushes the one time the apartment's player isn't ready. That's gotta be brutal.
Oh, come on. He's ripping him to shreds, and Captain Kurt is going to have Morisco come through, pull his knife out, and present himself. Here you go, wrap a bow on me, and that's your Christmas gift. Or maybe just Spooktober, as Alex is getting scared. Inside the smoke they go. Match key found out, and somehow Alex is going to get another one.
Oh, that's brutal. He had the advantage. Still gets shut down by Alex, and Beastig just has to walk the plank as we end off the first half. Ridiculous stuff from Bait. We'll see whether or not that continues after the break.
The first half is always equally long. Unfortunately, sometimes the second one not so much. If the trend continues, we're in for a short one. 10-2 for B8. They're happy.
Yeah, more than happy. I mean, the performances they're putting out individually, like Headtrick going 18-4, honestly, a Smurf-like performance at the moment. And Sinners, we'll see whether or not they have any answers. Of course, the CT side, a little bit trickier these days on Inferno, but look at this. Bait, they're just going to be booking it straight down middle. We'll see if it'll be a repeat, but no, it's the CTs. Finding 2, 3. Yeah, it's all over. Very similar to the first. Yeah, it is a repeat. I see that first kill coming back, and I'm like, okay, maybe something happens. Nah, it's just Mikey getting kills back to back. Very nicely done by Sinners.
Well, that was comfortable. I mean, it's a fast whistle round, right? They shot heads, and heads died.
You win or you don't.
You win or you don't. Honestly, that is sort of the pistol round. Bait will also be going for the exact same buy immediately afterwards, but with one more Deagle. Is that the difference maker? Probably not. Let's find out.
Yeah, I just have this faint feeling that the Desert Eagle might not do as much damage as the AWP, but we'll find out.
It depends where you're shooting.
That'd be more useful if you can only hit heads. You can shoot faster. And other things I tell myself before.
How do you shoot faster if you can only hit heads?
Because the Eagle shoots faster, so you can get more kills than an AWP with.
Oh, you mean just in terms of fire rate? Ah, okay, sorry. Okay.
Yeah.
I just thought
this is the type of copium I just tell myself before I buy into a Deagle for the 7th round in a row. And
listen, your copium aside, I think Beastick wants to make some money and he wants to pass some stats. He's not really had a great time. This flash is going to be fantastic money, but not much.
Oh, it's got to be brutal to get collected by the one Deagle, right? Oh. Find him, Morisco. Yeah, should be no trouble just farming the salary right there. And the Sinners with the 4th.
Well, now comes out the real test, right? Bait will be coming out with the AKs. Hopefully, I do actually like this a lot. The fact that they go for the Galil and the Headtrick as well. Hopefully, they have one on his Sentinel, but because he got those 2 kills with the Deagle, maybe he feels a little bit more feisty. They'll have more flashes, they'll have more utility, and with that, they might want to try and make it play out towards the B-bomb site. You can do a lot more with fewer flashes on B ever since the changes to Inferno have come through than before. You don't need the flashes to take control of Banana the same way. Now that the Molotovs are smaller, the incendiaries rather. NPL in the meanwhile finds match key. Captain Kurt will do the same to Morisco, and right as Sinners started to pick themselves back up, they will be forced down. 3 versus 5. Beastick found, located, but not spammed.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter because Bait, they know they have the positional advantage. And it's such a desperate play from Sinners. The fact that the second player just runs out with an MP9 to try and reclaim the numerical disadvantage, it's just very hard to watch. Sinners, now they're going to have to back off just to try and save whatever they've got remaining in this half. And you got to remember that margins are incredibly thin. You look at 11 here for Bait, and you've pretty much checked out of map number 1, which, by the way, is the Sinners map pick.
Yeah, just in case anyone forgot, right? They did choose this hell for themselves. They will have a buy in the next round at the very least if you can save all 3 of these weapons. Shock and Oscar can both afford to drop a Gunna piece. That's a really stupid peek, I'll be honest. I love you, Oscar, but there's no reason to be looking for hunts on the T side when you're down 4-10 and you really do need 3 weapons to be able to buy up fully in the next round.
It's kind of interesting that Bait has won Inferno more times than Sinners have whenever they've gone up against each other on it. Like, yeah, maybe the results are a little bit old. But, you know, a few months ago, Bait won against Sinners on Inferno, and then, like, a little bit down the line again. There's been, like, 1 victory from Sinners out of 4 Infernos being played, which is kind of surprising because we don't really chalk that up as a Bait specialty.
Well, Bait do have a pretty deep map pool, and they are putting it on exhibit right now, but still, maybe numbers can be discussed later on. Right now, it's all about the nades, and those nades are doing damage. Captain Kurtka not feeling very good about it.
I really do like that Bait are going for that initial banana setup because it's very important to condition the enemy team early on. You cannot allow the CT side to just be running around the map like Bait was back when they were on the defense.
This is not the CT incendiary Beastic. You gotta know, flash forward will not be helping you. They're spamming away and it's a nade to finish off. Beastic goes down.
Yeah, a bit too delayed. I really thought that the smoke would be pre-planned if that was what it was gonna come to, but Bait instantly hitting the brakes now. And a re-aggression into middle instead, and look at the only player that's gonna be watching it initially, Mikey.
Ooh. That Molotov missed. Otherwise, Mikey might have just been taken down. Shock is the one who actually takes the kill away. Flashbang won't matter either. So, two-man setup retreats in Bait with only 40 seconds. Now 30 will be turning back to the B-bomb site.
Oh, I really like that Bait are willing to go for something like this. It's
Time's
a 2-and-2 setup, however. Yeah, it's a 2-and-2 setup, so they're not particularly threatened either way. It's all a matter of wasting as much time as they can. Oscar takes a step forward so he can find them over the top of the smoke. Oh, that's awkward. No way they can start to get it done in 14 seconds, and Maurice goes on the case. With the final player remaining, a desperate attempt from Alex to do some damage before he falls. And he gets that done, but still, the round goes the way of Sinners.
It's a bit of a lazy smoke out onto the boost. They don't go for the flower pot smoke instead. They wanted to throw it out manual. I'm not sure if that was just, again, an oversight or wanting to have the speed with it. Oscar takes him down. Really nice delaying tactics coming out in middle. The missed Molotov as well from Bait. Not the best of things to see. Maybe the Molotov is supposed to land there, but I'd be surprised if it's supposed to spread out in a way where you can't actually swing into it either. Oh. Seems like we might be having some freezing. Are you with me on that?
Uh-huh. Yeah, I'm frozen.
All right. Well, listen. Tactical timeouts can actually go so deep in for your immersion's sake that we freeze everything. That's how tactical they are. Wow. Making you feel like you're really in the battlefield. Duck for cover!
Sorry. I started to vicariously live through whatever experience we were going through. It's a very immersive experience, VR.
You think I'd be better at VR Counter-Strike than I am at actual CS?
Yes, because I know you're decent at tennis, but I know you're horrible at CS. So I feel like there might be some conversion there.
Okay, listen, you're saying that, but also you have to keep in mind, when you say I'm decent at tennis, I'm decent compared to like an average person. I'm decent compared to an average person in CS as well. Like average CS people are really bad.
If I had to make bets though, if my money was on the line, I don't know, like.
Well, your money's not on the line, but Bait's life might be if Sinners keeps on bringing their rounds back up. Bait will be hoping to interrupt that little streak of form that Sinners are trying to establish with a half-file of their own.
Yeah, one round at a time for Sinners. Shock. Okay, that should be some info. Not sure if the outlines are deceiving me, but that's something. Don't want to get caught by the Tech 9, so Oscar is going to start to go back into passivity a little bit. They know that they'll have the longer range advantage, Alex being the only one equipped with the Galil. And things are about to pop here on the A-bomb.
Also underneath, it's Majki, who's uninterrupted again. The boost is paying off very nicely, and B-Stick will be taken down, but not before he's done more than his fair share of damage. Majki finally falls, and again, great damage from Bait to come through. Oscar even turning away the bomb. Of course, next to him, he is only looking to safeguard.
I mean, it's still a 1v2, and you've got the Galil in the hands of Alex. Oh, he'll get a chance to isolate. This is a tricky spot to be in. No, Oscar says absolutely not. Quickly puts a bullet through his head. So not exactly the worst climb for Sinners, you know. Slowly but surely they are closing the scoreline. Problem is the margins have been run so thin that Bait honestly only just needs some random brute force tactic that works a couple of times. And you know that that can be really potent on the T side of Inferno.
Well, we say that, but we also saw Sinners trying to do the same quite a few times over. Let's not count them out of it just quite yet. Of course, Bait still should be the one's favored to take this one home after what they did in the first half, and right now is really the test of what they can find with their gun rounds. Nade being primed and prepped. This is going to be doing some good damage to Alex, down to 47. He's not feeling happy about it at all. Great read from Matsky off the back of that late Molotov thrown by the T side. Meanwhile, the B side, though, is completely vacant. Only a CT defender in Morisco, who smoked it off, used his last piece of util for it. I wonder if there's anything else for him to pick up here. There isn't. Ooh, he might be in trouble. I think he was looking for util from his teammate.
Yeah, and look at this. Morisco might want to try to be sneaky in the smoke. Will he get caught for it? Oh, a couple shots, and they already know that there's somebody at least close by. Probably a good time to start cheating. Rotations over, or they'll be running into a mostly ghost-infested bomb site with the exception of one defender. Surely there's really not much you can do to stop it. Morisco wanting to play around the smoke. Oh, even that's a luxury, tea time.
Oscar's going to be popping open that smoke and hoping that he can find a timing to maybe take down the bomb planter. Doesn't want to peek that far forward. He only looks for the initial duel now. Wait for his teammates to collect around him. Morisco done at least the bare minimum of going 1-for-1. You do have a flash or two available from Manchki to start chucking them out for these MP9s to be the ones taking first contact. B-stick, however, coming in from Coffin will not be too easy to assist with those flashes. Re-smoke out for CT is going to make this even more troubling. Matchkey is gone, and Headtrick Blind will still be able to recover fast enough. Oscar as well, next to fall, and Sinners will pay heavily for that mistake again. I am convinced that Morisco thought there was more utility behind him than there was.
And utility aside, right, if you look at just a retake, even that's a little bit mistimed, and that's something I was worried about when we were looking at the first half, where some of their pushes felt a bit disjointed, and now their retakes have some of the same symptoms. We saw B-Stick not exactly being aligned with the utility that was being chucked out for him. He steps out maybe a couple seconds earlier as the flashbang is popping. You probably have a much more reasonable retake to go for. Now, 12-6, Sinners having to dig very deep into their wallets to afford anything, and Oscar does get one last hurrah with the AWP. But we'll see if it goes ahead and pays dividends. Man, I was worried that Headtrick would stop performing after he hopped on over to the T side, but 25 and 8. Essential, yeah, Oscar, probably a good time to start turning the gears about map 2.
Morisco takes the risk, and he's going to be taken down for it. Now back to a 5-on-3. Again, weapons at the very least are in their hands. Shock to fall, and well, weapons are not in their hands either. This round might not be in their cards. And with that, Bait just look to reassert and finish off what they've started. Another scope will basically be the guarantee of Matchkey's death, and now you can see NPL on the move. He is coming out through apartments. He's found Matchkey. And that leaves only B-Stick 1-on-5. Deagle, his only friend, and Bait are about to reunite him with his teammates. 13-6, they take Sinner's map pick. They are hoping to make it quick.
Brilliant showing from Bait, and I don't think we can overpraise what we saw from the individual there from Bait. And I think the one player we're going to have in the limelight there is probably going to be Headtrick. As much as NPL is generally the one that gets highlighted because of the fact that he's that fragging IGL, we saw some incredible stuff from Headtrick, the re-peaks, the shooting. I mean, there wasn't anything missing from Bait, honestly.
It was really nice to see what Headtrick was doing, and I think more than that, it was even nicer to see that Bait are experienced enough to actually make the call of letting him stay almost solo on that site with Alex 666. We did, of course, have our player to watch coming into the game being NPL, who doesn't do the best as far as KD is concerned, but I have to say again, some of the ability to just let control of that A site go and let Alex and NPL, rather Alex and Headtrick handle it the way that they did. It's very admirable. He wasn't needed in the same way when your team's going 10-2 and honestly your teammates are kind of dominating them, but when he got his duels, he did win them out very often.
Yeah, and I mean, you've got to consider that NPL, even if he's not really performing in terms of the numbers, right, he is pulling the strings as far as where these players are going, so that probably has a lot to do with their success here, T-Time.
Well, let's find out whether or not they can find that success on Mirage as well. Their own map pick coming up soon after this break. Stay tuned, guys. Don't go anywhere. Sinners might be able to take it to 3, but who knows? The fight with the date for a Panda continues. Who's going to be going up against 9 Pandas? B8 already up 1-0, having won out Sinners' map pick of Inferno. We head over to the second Mirage, which they, of course, picked up themselves once Ancient was banned out. I'm T-Town, joined by Faraz while Diablo. For us, we've got ourselves Mirage coming up. Bait not able to pick up their favorite map, but still looking very good even on Inferno. What are we thinking?
I mean, Mirage, right? It hinges so much on individual performance, which I really don't think that Sinners are providing right now. You head into Mirage, you know that it's a bait map pick, it's a specialty, this is where they should be cooking ideally. And if you've got Headtrick hitting the shots that he was on Inferno, that wasn't even their map pick. Oh, dude, I have some bad news to tell you if you're a Sinners fan.
The bad news is very straightforward. It's that Headtrick seems to be out-opping everyone. It's that Oscar's getting some numbers in, but those numbers don't get to be rounds, and that it feels like no one else is really doing enough. And at the same time, we haven't even seen Bait fully tested because NPL wasn't really entirely needed. Captain Kurtka had his moments and everything, but it's not like you got to see these stellar anchoring performances from him or anything like that either. So yeah, that's the bad news for Sinners fans.
Yeah, now I'm not really sure if there are any silver linings. Well, maybe the fact that Sinners aren't exactly chumps when it comes to Mirage either, so it should be a good match regardless. And listen, whichever way you want to cut it, this was almost an uncharacteristically bad performance from Sinners on Inferno. The way they were so just disjointed on T-side, and for Headtrick to, you know, I wouldn't say have an overperformance, but it was like a bit of a miracle how he's getting all those shots in, right? I think he ended the game with almost 30 kills, so probably difficult to replicate. And if we meet down the middle there somewhere, Mirage should ideally be a better showing.
I think one of the other silver linings sort of is that we didn't get to see Oscar's AWP on the CT side really come into play in the same way. By the time they got to the CT side, they'd already practically lost the map. You're going to be able to start CT side on Mirage, but hey, hopefully we get to see a little bit more impact from Oscar and his big green. And I think that really should be one of the keys that lets him try and take this to map number 3. Despite the doom and gloom that Inferno might be presenting to us, we can't really bite down into that too hard. I do think that this should go to a third map, but let's wait and find out whether that'll be the case. Oscar is not the only person who has to perform, though. It also comes down to what Matchkey and company can get done. Again, Shock had some good T-side entry rounds here and there as well. We need a lot more of that. We need a little bit more, maybe, isolation of parts of the map. And that's normally what you think Inferno is very good for on the T-side, but I think Mirage can give you a little bit of the same thing as well in that regards. At least they have a chance of ahead to make sure this goes to 3.
You know, it's important that you take the conversation away from Oscar a little bit because of the fact that these extremities, those anchors, they're really going to be tested. Because one of the trends that I've really noticed on Bait's T side is that Captain Kurtka is going to be activated. Like, this is the man that'll be running in with the MAC-10, and he's really going to be applying that early round pressure, which, honestly, Sinners, I don't really think they're ready for if you look at if Inferno is anything to go off of. Now, of course, apples to apples comparisons are very difficult to make between maps, but I do think that the trend of Bait just taking control when they're on Mirage, if it's supplemented by players like Headtrick, if it's supplemented by these late game calls of NPL, things are going to get out of hand.
Thing is, we never actually got to see too much aggression coming out of the CT side from them. It felt like beyond a couple of plays where Sentinel got onto Banana and went for just a straight up duel with a few flashes behind, mostly when he was on the MP9. Mirage, you feel like you need aggression no matter what happens on the CT side. It doesn't have to be a straightforward connector push. It doesn't have to be a mid-fight. It can be, you know, maybe anchor aggression as well. There's definitely a lot of avenues of attack that are opened up to you, but without that, you're never going to have the information to make the plays that they were making right there on Inferno, right? You can't really defend anything with just 2 players and let NPL sort of buzz off to the other side of the map. Let's see what the plan is going to end up being, though, as we head into Bait's map pick of Mirage.
Bait should be very potent here. Obviously a very difficult bar to be setting with that first map being an absolute blowout. We'll see if Bait can continue the trend or if Sinners can finally get past the train station. I'm sorry, I just had to bring it up again.
Well, let's see. Who's actually driving the train and who's being run over this time over? Essential smoke and a Molotov, that's all he has, and right now it looks to be a straightforward late mid collapse that is being planned out. Molly to force back Shock. He Gets off a shot, but it's not going to be enough. Oscar continues to fight in, but it's the underpass players that he has to be careful about. Molotov's going to be giving them just enough time to start coming up and boosting in to look for a duel. Alex finds Shock. Shock taken down as he looks to assist Oscar, who's been quite loud about this. The crouched up Tigers going into the hidden connector will now find an A site unpopulated, but Morisco had actually pushed forward all the way in from Palace, coming in from behind. He loses his teammate. The bomb is planted, and although there was a lazy clear from Headtrick, being worried about a potential flank to come through, he had to cover off Palace as well. Now it's this elevation. Alex finds one. Matchkey down 2-on-2.
2-on-2? I mean,
Well,
do have another player.
2-on-3.
Yeah, tucked in. Oh, quick tap on the bomb. Morisco does find one, and this is where he's going to be going for the full stick, and they're not wagering it. They finally start to go through, but Oscar, he's got ice in his veins as he holds the angle, and Morisco has nothing to worry about with Big Brother watching. First round for Sinners.
That was very impressive stuff, honestly, coming through. I really thought that the round was completely over, but the fact that Bait planted in opposite triple and they don't have anyone to go back, maybe Headtrick wanted to go for something like it right before he gets taken down, because he's the only player who's actually in position to maybe go for the mid flank through in that way. But that's just really well played overall. Great stuff between Morisco and Oscar.
And this is the kind of confidence builder they needed to get things kicked off. They lose that pistol round, you start on the back foot when you're already coming off the back of Inferno. Things aren't going to look all that good. Now this massive investment into anything they could get their hands on from Bait, it is going to be providing force on this B aggression. B-Stick quickly dumping all of his utility. Oh, that's so awkward from short. Mikey being a menace, and B-Stick is still trying to stay relevant. Now Headtrick does find a head with his Deagle, but it's a 3 versus 2. NPL now starting to take over market. He spotted one player, takes the liberty to go forward, even recovers an M4, but surely he's found by Morisco, who penetrates through the smoke, and now he's looking for a second fight. Headtrick doesn't have the best weapon for it, but he should have the drop, but even the shadow cannot betray Morisco. Oh, little bit of BM there maybe from Morisco, because he knows the things are getting tough, a bit riled up.
This is exactly what you want to see coming up from an anchor player. Just effective rotations, getting good timings out. Also, a great communication for the rest of the Sinners team to actually give him the calls about positioning and everything. He feels so safe going forward for those pushes when he hears that reload and the like as well. Sinners, again, you're getting a little bit down to the wire because Bait will be able to get that bomb plant out. It feels like they might even have a better buy in some ways if they go for the full Galil spread. No, even an AK for Headtrick. Utility is lower, but Sinners aren't out of deep waters yet.
Yeah, absolutely not. Gotta go up against still very decent rifles, respectable weaponry on the other side. Oh, no, gets found by Captain Kirka, who's been really good with the entries for this team, and Alex having found another victim in middle. Shock does try to provide some resistance, but that is quickly going to be met with the full force of Headtrick. Some HP lost on Headtrick. But is B-Stick in a 1-on-3 with an MP9? I'm not sure if he's going to have any answers for this particular round. Perhaps if he wagered his life in the mid-window, he might have found something, but probably not. Best case
all of
scenario,
those,
maybe a kill.
All of those kills from Alex coming out into connector, just fantastic stuff from him right there. Again, it really did feel inevitable that Bait was going to come through and crack open one of these rounds. Every single one of the post-plant situations we've seen has come off the back of some great entries, some effective early round play, and then Sinners wins off of individual moments. Now that they've won this round, not only do they do that, they also break the Sinners' economy.
Yeah, it's a soon enough victory from Bait and enough damage being supplied over the first 2 rounds where they were never really all that comfortable. Even if you go over to that second round, it came down to just a 1 versus 1. And yes, when you're relying on individuals, it almost goes to prove that Bait are playing a very solid team game, even if they're not able to make the conversions happen late into the round. Oscar, quick attempt with the scout rifle, vision obscured. Taking middle, probably not a luxury that they can afford at the moment, with Bait having all the bells and whistles that they do.
Look, it's all about the stack right now. You don't really want to find in the middle or anything like that. It's only just, hey, if they go to B and Oscar gets 2 kills, maybe we rotate, right? assuming that their lurker hasn't just taken us down elsewhere. Silence is key for Sinners, and right now that's exactly the policy they're going to stick to.
If you can get some of the weight of the utility out of them, sure. As the time starts running down, I mean, it's not too late just yet, but can't really delay as you are. Oh, Oscar, there it is. That's where the Deagles start to make the round capitulate. 3 players still alive and healthy. They're still going to be fighting back, but they've got to watch out for Shock. Makes really good use of the 5-7. And Hetrick, final man standing, needs to find multiple angles. Got tickled by the scout and ended as well. Sinners, what a godsend.
So this is one of the issues that sometimes teams like Bait will run into if they're heavily reliant on just finding kills in their default and then transitioning forward into an effective post-planted Mirage. Mirage is one of the maps where it's really hard to find a stack. It really is. It feels like you have to sacrifice a player to do it no matter what you do. And even then, if the player dies with only having gotten information on one guy, it's not enough. So Bait spending that much time inside middle, not really probing into either one of the bomb sites, always worried about the stack, but that's exactly what actually ends up coming back to bite them. Now, in this half bite that they pulled through, they're hoping for damage, and damage is found. Yes, can they hope for more than that?
Probably not. More than damage would be a bit ambitious. And you know, you could make the argument for it on the CT side, but with the Ts, the kind of positions you have to take, not exactly an easy affair. A slowdown as Sinners are unwilling to explore any further. Bait, they've got the ball in their court. And I heard some ticks in the chat, not really sure what that's about. We're probably going to find that out soon enough. Okay.
That's an NS, I can guarantee it. Yeah. Because Captain Kurtka had an NS.
Okay. That's valid.
Time's running low. It is. The time is running low now. The CTs are clustered, not on the right bomb site. Nade's going to pop open the smoke, but no, it's gone too deep, and Shock is worried. He's scared. He's asking for support, and Matchkey is going to try and give it to him, but he has to creep through that close corner of ladder to get there. This will be slow rotations, and that means a bomb can be planted, but do B8 realize that?
Probably a good time to start gambling for the bomb plant. In fact, they could do it for short. That's eventually what the move is going to be. Shock, first contender, Alex found, but Hetrick, he's being a bit of a menace. I might have discredited the pistols a little bit too early. They're still worried about the flank, but the crux of the action will be coming through from CT and jungle. Oh, Hetrick, another casualty collected. There's more damage. NPL's in position, and my, oh my, Bait, they've done it.
Shock is going to be ruining the day he missed that grenade. He really needed to get information over there, but also at the same time, I have no idea what's going on for Matchkey out in ladder. Matchkey takes so long just being inside ladder room because he's afraid of there being players concentrated into short. Again, that's because Shock can't blow open the smoke and give him info of short being clear. Otherwise, Matchkey swings out, starts to take the peek into connector, and they've got an effective crossfire. When the bomb site's given up, you're just going to have a really hard time peeking back into the Deagles. Straightforward push out into Palace. Alex is intercepting, but only just the one. He'll be looking to turn back in and see if he can provide support, but the rest of his teammates have already started to take a knee, and indeed, they are down in the ground. 3-3, Bait equalize.
Yeah, very comfortable round for Bait here. They're not going to falter to a pistol by twice. And I did initially say that a pistol round win would be ambitious, and Bait have nothing but that. Did it in the previous round. Denied any pistol shenanigans in the next. An equalizer can also potentially be converted into a lot more if they can get past a Goliath that is this particular buy. Beastic the only one that's a bit under-equipped, but everybody else, bells and whistles are to be found. Bait going back into their slow default, and that's generally been their bread and butter. It does kind of lock them in positions where they have to go for sometimes desperate late round plays, but if it works, it does. He gets away with a bit of a freebie here. Ooh, he finds the head. Alex to support. And mid control now firmly established with the only 2 players now remaining in connector and short, but they're unwilling to be too feisty about it. Captain Kirka responsible for keeping them busy here.
This is very much about what Essential is up to at this point, because Shock has turned away from the A bomb site. At some point or the other, you want to start lurking in as the A site extremities player on the T side, but because of the MP9, he feels a lot more scared to. Instead, he's playing intercept for anyone who wants to push forward into A main, or at the very least to make sure no one has done so before his teammates set up for an execute. That's exactly what they're going in for, and the longer they wait, the more you'd hope that Sinners start to rotate, and Oscar is certainly leaning back over to the larger bomb site. But will he be there on time? Smokes are down. He's going to be blocked off. Nade there for him, though. He's going to blow it open. Will the timing be on point? Nade opens it up, but he can't get a kill.
Yeah, with Alex collecting another kill, yeah, this is pretty much goodbye for the CTs here. Alex does eventually get overwhelmed, and they might still want to have 1 foot through the door to maybe get something done. And it's a bit of an overeager push from the Ts, but it doesn't go punished. So Oscar knows that this op is worth its weight in gold if he can take it into the next round. He is going to be receding very soon. It's also a bit tricky to just back off, knife out into apartments or short, because you just don't have that full information. So it makes sense that he still wants to have his weapon out. Shock completely disjointed from his secondary player. Can't really protect the AWP, but happy to get a kill nonetheless.
Terrorists win.
Well, at the very least, Sinners will always have a chance in some of these half fights that they might want to opt into. But again, this is something that we saw playing out on Inferno as well. You get those Tech 9s out, you get these, 5-7s and the like out, but you can't really rely on them as much as you might be hoping for a Hail Mary. Getting it twice over in the same game seems more than unlikely. Oscar needs to start being more proactive, and this is how he's going to attempt to do so. He smoked off immediately, and that's a problem of Mirage.
Yeah, and this has been very consistent from NPL as well. Consistently being able to find information, space, and underpass, being a threat to the middle player. And I'm pretty sure he also spotted perhaps a pixel as the boost was occurring. He's dead certain that somebody's been boosted up. A Molotov should be throwing a wrench in the plans that they've got readied up. Shock, that's a nice kill, but unfortunately met with the brute force of Alex. Fighting back with an AK-47, now the 2 primary weapons still alive. Shock and Oscar, they can still be menaces. There's still a party to attend, but I'm not sure if they're invited. Shock, his position's known. Yeah, surely they back off now.
They're splitting up. And I like Shock's position, but he still has to deal with potentially 3 players coming over. Actually, it will be back to the B bomb set that they go. Essential still trying to play out for the lurk. This is a very slow approach from Bait, and to be honest, it's going to work out because of that one Molotov forcing Oscar back into the A-bomb site. If he was in market or watching out for market, this could have just been a lost round there and then. Shock's given a chance to take another duel with Alex, but with his triple kill so far, Alex is feeling more than happy to maybe stress his luck out a little bit more. Oscar, quick jump back out in through short. Can't really interrupt the bomb from being planted. If he can get a kill onto the bench player, maybe there's still something to be done. Otherwise, a save would likely be in order.
He does get an opening, but the instant recollection does mean that Shock's in a 1 versus 2. Plenty of time available and 2 angles to find. Wouldn't put it past him. He can definitely get it done. Okay, that's information. Now looking for the second player. Who are you baiting for is the question that Shock is asking. Maybe the bench player, perhaps somebody in the bomb site, okay? He's narrowed it down, but he's still not sure where that second prong is, and Head Trick will finally reveal in the nick of time. 5-3, Bait have continued the pressure.
Alex is doing a great job out of the middle, man. He's just dominating, whether he's with the pack or whether he's left alone to try and be a bit more of a lurk. He's got a great read of the map on how it's going. And admittedly, again, that was against 3 pistols and 2 rifles, but still a round that could have gone the wrong way. Sinners had the advantage of being able to still reset Bates' economy, but even then, the best you're hoping to fight for is 7-5. I will repeat, Oscar needs to find impact earlier on in the rounds. He cannot be this late round player, as that's not his big strength on the AWP. This is not a Shiro, this is not a Jame, and that's what they're trying to set him up for now.
Watch this. Short peek, Shirley. Oh man, that's an ambitious attempt, but it doesn't work. Alex consistently been demolishing anything that comes his way. Fully takes control of middle once more. 2 players found. And with Captain Kirkov getting a collection in B, surely this round has been bust wide open. Shock and Morisco, yeah, this has been called.
Well, Shock, I believe in you.
You might, but I'm not sure if he does.
I don't know what I believe that he's going to do, but I believe in him.
There's some kind of belief there. It's one of the beliefs of all time.
Well, okay, never mind.
Okay. It was belief, but it wasn't faith.
Yeah, yeah. It was a lie, I'll be honest. Sinners have had their CT side be a bit of a lie so far. We've been losing out rounds that I wouldn't really expect. Again, Oscar, great position to be putting yourself into, but he's just not scoped in for that short angle and double scope, dragging it back to Alex. Alex gets that fight any day of the week, and then he gets a follow-up as well. So you really are getting to see the punishment that he is inflicting, and the fact that the traditional counteracting forces isn't there.
And dude, as much as I'd like to make my job easier by just blaming one player, I do feel like Oscar isn't being set up that well. He's often just a singular prong that's being sent out, gets punished. Can't really consistently rely on that, just that one player to be outputting. Essential does know that there might be someone around the smoke though, so... Finding something? No. A start, maybe? Teach him?
Let's find out. Oscar's in a great position as well. Les moving possibly distracted by Morisco. Oscar's got the chance to stab him in the back, and he will.
Ouch.
Pulls the trigger, but it's too late. Captain Kirk punishes the bitch as well. What could have been, what could have been, what could have been. B-Stick is showing us why not everyone's meant to spend $700 on a pistol.
Matchkin and Morisco, they've got a lot of burden on their shoulders, but maybe it'll be alleviated in about 5 seconds time. Morisco, oh no, it's so brutal to watch so many shots connect, but then so many miss subsequently after. So close, yet so far.
Can I introduce you guys to a little old thing called the R8? Because the Deagle's not working right now.
Well, they've already familiarized themselves with the R8's best friend, the RNG.
Ah, okay. I thought you were going to say the B8, because that's been going in them all day long. There you go.
That's a close call.
Indeed it might be. Some relation. Morisco would like to have some connections, though, and with his bullets to their skulls. Alex watching out. It's a slow duel, but you know what? That second one isn't.
Yeah, the initial pivot from the default into anything else, just make sure that you're insured on at the start of the round, and that's exactly what happens. Alex being that consistent rock around middle once again provides, and you look at the scoreboard, you see where all that output's coming from. Yes, Headtrick, you know, he was very dominating on Inferno, but Alex has been happy to provide the riflery support. 15 and 8, always putting himself in high-risk scenarios as well. Like, if you swing out middle against a team that has Oscar, come on, 15 to 8 is hardly a scoreline you'll be able to manufacture, but once again, it's just 2 members remaining on Sinners, and it almost seems like a foregone conclusion, the 2-0 potentially with how Bait is playing at the moment, and you're really going to have to work to try and take it to map 3.
God. 8's guaranteed. I wouldn't be surprised with a 9. Your money in the next round is going to be absolutely atrocious. Shock is hopefully going to be looking to save the AWP that Oscar has dropped over, but right now, he's more concerned with just defending his life. He can pick up the AWP if he keeps it. You would expect Bait to start isolating out where that orb dropped, but they themselves have decided not to. I'm surprised. They've got plenty of money. I don't know why you'd be sticking around. Maybe worried about a ninja, but you'd think that headshot would be enough.
It's because Shock has the new update. Now you can carry 4 weapons at once. It's a
Oh
DLC.
yeah, I've heard of that.
You didn't pay for it, Brokey.
Terrorists win.
I've always wanted to be a FaZe Clan player. Maybe not like that.
8-3 though, man. If we thought Inferno was bad, well, it was. It was pretty damn bad. But here we are. A Mirage that could deliver on equal footing.
Still one more chance for Sinners to find respect and look to turn it around on the T side. This is that chance. This chance comes in the form of the B side aggression that they are planning out. Maybe a double walk stick. That's not something you see every day of the week, and that's for a reason. It's because you messed it up. God. Nothing is working for them. Oscar, by the time he actually takes up the position, he's let everyone and the town cry and know where he is. NPL and Essential taking him down and making it look as easy as it gets. I wish I was this good at bowling, because they're just knocking him down.
Yeah, unfortunately, that attempt at a double walk stick turns into exactly 0 walk sticks in the apartment. A little too late. Now 9 pretty much guaranteed unless Shock and Mariska are about to split their bullets in 5 and keep finding members. Maybe a start? No. I'm generous, but it's not by that much. Oh, Alex, I didn't even notice you on there on the map. 9-3 as Bait have continued to dominate. We're about to find out after a very short break if Sinner's run is going to be short-lived.
It's one better than 10-2, but I don't know if the end result will be too different. Sinners very much in a deficit on their opponent's map. Big Bait are still looking just as good as they power through to try and find the 9 pandas. Well,
Sinners, I thought it was, yeah, okay, even a fake flash just didn't agree with them.
like
Wrong
maybe
side of
that's
bed.
the ultimate fake. Flash has come through. Essential is very blind, but they're still not going to be able to cross over for free. Marisco pays the toll of heads, but it's Matchkey to come in from the side as well. Alex, the only one to actually find frags in NPL right now, will be able to at least add his name to the mix, but he's waiting for Matchkey to continue forward. Matchkey's just... Okay, this is going to be a lot of money for NPL to pick up, actually.
Yeah, this would have been a lot easier if the only frag that Alex found wasn't his teammate.
Hey, it's a
NPL.
frag.
That's all that matters, does it? Okay, yeah, this is a foregone conclusion right there. But still, you got to remember that Sinners have very thin margins, so anything they can get under their belt, they want to keep on maximizing whatever advantage they can get. Maybe a chance of just, yeah, okay. Stat pad right there. It's really hard to call it that when you're doing it with a pistol, so can't take that away from him. But Bait's still a very solid lead, but at least we see some signs of life come out from Sinners.
Bait will be counteracting immediately with a force buy of their own. To be expected when you have NPL picking up that much money. Top mid smoke actually might make this a little bit easier for NPL to get his work done with the M4 nade. Goes deep. It's going to be doing good damage. Captain Kurtka might be left without much, but that's a follow-up as well. This is getting scary. You could still see a flashbang helping out, but the Molotov will take him down before it can actually pop. Matchkey gets Hedrick's head popped open. And now with NPL finally revealing the M4, it's only him. No flashes really to help out either. He is retreating, but he can't find his way back. Instead, he finds his way forward. Charging through, still alive, only the 2 kills, and he almost gets a third.
Wow.
Essential left alone, 1 on 3, nothing to do here.
Yeah, maybe if we see that third kill come out, perhaps. But Essential. Exits are probably the only thing he can have on the agenda. No chance at the round, but it's really nice to see that Sinners have not been immediately discouraged, although that round could have gone really wrong. We see NPL come on top of the stairs, find 2 around the edge of the smoke. And you gotta remember, he's going 14 and 6 at the moment. Bait firing on maybe not all the cylinders, but quite a few of them.
Terrorists win.
Be nice to see.
I mean,
if Sinners
Alex,
could match that
NPL, and
energy.
Hedrick are all kind of firing off.
And Captain Kurtka is like, with the kind of role he has, right? You're never really putting him under a microscope when it comes to, like, frags, because he gets his impact elsewhere. That just leaves 1 lonely cylinder.
Well, look, 9-3, now to 9-5, now a half buy coming up from Bait. They're not putting themselves in a place where they can buy up an AWP in the next round either. This is still setting up for Sinners to actually potentially be able to get to like 7 or 8 rounds before you face off us at the first op. Right, so this is opening up a passageway. It's all about whether Sinners can fit in through it.
See whether or not this Galil can pop off. But they're going to try to make their way through the smoke. Oh, could have had more than just 1. Comes down to the Deagle waiting on the other side. Captain Kurtka nearly found. Hedrick tries to switch over to the nade to do damage, but he knows that his position is still unknown. A Molotov surely doesn't spread to him. And that could be a surprise right here, T-Time, if that's what they keep watching. Nade tries to find him, but now it's a bit too late to have any element of surprise. Alex and Hedrick simply under-equipped to have a peep in this matter. And Sinners, they might have looked far, but when you're looking at MR12 T-Time, it's you're always inches away from the comeback.
I really don't like the bait setup that they went for over there between the Galil and the two pistols. Again, I have seen so much more success from concentrating CTs, and just the idea in a lot of force buys where you win is that you want to have the numbers advantage in the duel on the CT side, because that's something you will almost never have on a gun round. You're obviously taking a risk by letting lurkers potentially come through and things like it, but you're also reinforcing in a way where if you want to pop out through a smoke, if they're pushing the smoke, if they're maybe flashing one person out and they can switch and swap, things get better or easier. Instead, you see the Galil get one kill. There is no follow-up damage into connector because CT can't give support. The Deagle out in default misses out on its only one single bullet that it had to do anything. It's a much harder round if you aren't willing to take a risk. Still, regardless of the fact whether Bait have an op or not, they will have a buy in this one. So Sinners now have an actual task in front of them.
Yeah, it's a very respectable buy, of course. Not a red carpet to the tie-up by any means imaginable. Match key popping off. Captain Kirka needs to hold on to his horses. Can't reveal just yet. Needs to wait for the flashbang, but they're in perfect positions to avoid. They try and find some space back onto the bomb site, but by the time that's done, Headtrick tries to be relevant. It's only good for the one. Okay, that's a donation right there. Thank you for that. AK-47 in hand, and this is skedaddle time.
It's funny because Sinners' spotting actually ends up benefiting them so much more than I think maybe even they were ready for, because no one was watching out for Triple until the flashbang comes through. The flashbang popped behind Triple rather than on top of Firebox, which is sort of the normal flashbang to try and counter it out, because normally what ends up happening is that you go for the pathing across Sandwich over towards jungle very often, but because they mollied it out and stopped any jungle pushes, Sinners gets to focus in onto Under Palace. Under Palace means that they've dodged the flash sent by B8, so Captain Kurt doesn't find anyone flashed up at all. Even if you just speak a little bit earlier, you know, I mean, he doesn't know it, but they would have all been turned around.
And that's just one of the issues if you're hinging all of your success there on the bomb side on one flashbang. And, you know, maybe that's not exactly what they were doing, but that's what it came down to.
I mean, after NPL goes down, right? Like, that is the only way you can find success as the one player in Captain Kurtka. NPL saw the Shadow, got baited into shooting at it because he thought it was a body for a second, or he'd get to see a body, but Shadows work a little bit more strangely. Oscar finds Headtrick. That is exactly the kind of peek that Headtrick was using to punish out his opponents in Inferno. And Sinners, again, one step closer to that 8th round.
And the scoreline's not very far off anymore, T-Time. It's just a couple rounds. Probably going to be cushioned by worsening economy as the time goes on. The T is not taking too many casualties, and once again, it's the A-side execute. Nobody really ready to receive. Captain Kirka tries to come around the corner. Alex intercepted before he can be a menace. Senthil still trying to be problematic. 2 kills, sure. But Captain Kirka has made this negotiable. A deal can still be made because it's a 1 versus 2. Does he see anything around the back of Triple? He's expecting default, but at least he's cleared it out. 2 different angles to find. Trying to switch over to a different weapon. Comes over the top of the stairs, looking for anything, but they're being very careful, waiting for the first contact to try and take the duel. But Captain Kirka, he knows that holding W and running for his life is probably the best case scenario now. Sinners, the 8th.
Bait don't know it, but they would actually really like to save those 2 weapons. I know that they will have a buy in the next round regardless. Headtrick will have an AWP in the next round regardless, but you have to remember that even if you win a round with an AWP being bought up the way Sinners are playing, they're probably going to get 2 or 3 kills on you unless you're just dominating them. And that's a point where your money gets stressed out and then buy immediately afterwards. Anyway, you might not be able to afford up the AWP. Save weapons go for a lot further on the CT side than people actually expect. So 2v5, I get it. Essential feels like he gets some kills. He actually gets a lot done, but yeah, rough time. Still, they have Headtrick with the AWP, and this is the round that'll make a real difference.
Yeah, I do feel like they're really turtling up on the bomb sites as well because they're entirely relying on their mid presence to be able to take control. But when that doesn't happen, if Oscar gets a kill or 2 over here on middle, then you basically have nothing to work with. Now, this is still a somewhat turtled up setup, but at least you have a prong that's much closer to ramp and palace. So you'll have much more of a warning if that A execute finally comes in, which I have a gut feeling, or a radar feeling right here, that it just might because the bomb's there, 4 players at the ready. The second sandwich and connector. Yeah, this is about to cook.
Well, Captain Kirka is on fire, so maybe that's the cooking. Smoke's gonna be a little bit late overhead. Great shot, but it's one from Oscar again to his teammate. Never feels happy to have that happen. Captain Kurt taken down, and now Sinners are still overrunning these bomb sites. Now with Alex and Headtrick, the last left alive. Please save. Headtrick, you're going in. They're already in the bomb site. They have smokes down. There's no way for you to be able to really take control of this round beyond a gross shot from Alex. Almost basically Oscar through the smoke, and now with Headtrick looking to fade away, they will lose their last two weapons and any hope they had of buying in that next round as well.
As much as Bait would have wanted to get this done in 2 bites, I feel like this meal might be a little bit more than they bargained for. 9-9, and Sinners, they have a stronghold. They've got money overflowing from Shock's pockets. $11,000. And now Bait. This AWP on Headtrick is basically a one-trick strategy. Oscar going for the peek once again. Headtrick this time does not falter. Happy to provide some pushback in the rivalry.
This is a great position for Headtrick. Oh, beautiful shot. Mashki taken down. Essential as well. Inside the smoke has the advantage of fire rate, but no, Morisco turns around and straight to the head. Essential, he is dead. Flashes everywhere, but it's still going to be Alex to come in from the side. The T's are falling apart. It's blindfolded counter-terrorists that are taking over the map.
And you blink for a moment, you realize NPL and Headtrick now both have AWPs. At least the bomb plant on A might be bit on the easier side, but a 3 versus 2 still heavily favoring the CTs now as they get ready for the retake. They are going to have to elapse quite a bit of time before they get closer to the bomb site, and that does allow them to get into better positions. But will the potential of a threat stop Sinners from getting into nicer positions? Probably not. Already tucked into Palace, already tucked into Ramp. They're anticipating that extra prong to already be on the site, but this action is coming all the way through from Connector here, T-Time.
Oh my god, NPL just gets a kill on a shot, gets a quick scope as well, and Beastic is hoping to line it up. He does have it. Just shoot! Just shoot, Beastic! He's gonna be able to get the kill. They don't have the kit. He will save the day. Sinners will find 10. But what a start to the round. Headtrick with his 2 kills. You just wonder what could have happened if there hadn't been the spinning Beastic Mac 10 frag.
Oh man, that's such a rough round for both parties involved, right? The start for Sinners, but the unfortunate finish for Bait. Honestly, would like it if Bait would just take some time, cool off. Some composure needs to be added to the recipe. At least Headtrick has the AWP once more. Oh, Oscar. We were talking about the pillars that he stands on, but this is getting quite literal here, T-Time. 2-2 setup from the CTs. Mid-aggression from Sinners. They've got to take initiative here.
NPL smoked off. Flashpoint to just try and delay out this late mid play that is being set up. Bait. They have control over the A side, but it's Connector they need to be worried about, and worried they will be. NPL still waits.
The head, maybe?
No, I don't think he does.
The shadow.
You can't see shadows through the smoke, by the way.
The more you know.
It's going to end up being a B hit, and that's exactly what Bait are waiting for.
Yeah, this is a good setup. But we've seen good setups fall apart before. Oscar, oh, he's being so elaborate. Boost after boost. To be super careful. But there's still Alex on the case. First kill found. And they're quickly going to try and put on the pressure as they start dropping down from apartments. Morisco surely finds him. Yes, he does. It's Headtrick remaining. He's got the AWP, perhaps getting into a better position for the save. But no, disallowed. And now Sinners, couple rounds away from the victory. We started this half at 9-3.
Yeah, we did. I don't know what to say, man. Bait are using a lot of their flashes early on to try and dissuade Sinners from getting mid control too quickly, but that means they also don't have flashes to fight back out when the actual sight hits are coming through. Then, I mean, Oscar just hits a crazy shot, right? I don't blame anyone dying out to the boosted up Oscar shot, but then the response is also expected. NPL gets taken down. Bait are having nothing work for them at all. This is a masterclass of a T side from Sinners so far, and it's not looking to change anytime soon.
Money hemorrhaging for the CTs and the players as well. Shock and V-Stick making their march early. Headtricks, the Eagle has popped off before, but it's unlikely that we can replicate those pop-off performances. I mean, what more can you ask of the individuals, right? 22 on Alex, Headtrick on 17 and 9, but this is still an impenetrable fortress on the A-bomb site. They're still sticking
They've got
around,
no
T-Town.
choice but to go for it. Matchkey, timing can be great. There's no one to follow up behind either. And it's all just the numbers. And the numbers are pointing out that Sinners are taking this one away. Look, when you look out at how these rounds have gone, Bait have gotten so close to winning a couple of them. They've got setups in the right places for a few of them as well. They've had team kills from their opponents. And they've still not been able to break in for one. It's last chance saloon. Headtrick will not have an AWP. And all of that glorious impact that Alex was having from the T side just isn't ever going to transition forward into CT when he's the B anchor. So we need something from NPL. We need something from Headtrick here.
Sinners now one round away from a flawless terrorist side. And you put it right, a masterclass. I think even that would be an understatement. Oscar, his presence has been echoing on the server. Shock, Morisco, doing just the same. And there's going to be one final hurrah, one very chaotic fight to rule them all. And there it is, Oscar, headshot found through the smoke as well. Things starting to crumble. A sign of the times as Bait is about to fall. But Headtrick still has something to say. Maybe we can find some success. Senthil has a really nasty angle, but he flubs his words. And that means that it's going to come down to Alex with low HP as they start crossing over into the bomb site. A player coming in from market as well. Headtrick unsuccessful in finding victims for his bullets. And Captain Kirk is the only one with bullets, with HP, but no more HP. 13-9 as Sinners somehow disallow a single round.
That's a messy CT side in more ways than just one, right? You look over towards some of the economical decisions that are being made as well. You really would have liked to have a few more saves. You could have had one or two more gun rounds, but all of those are nitty-gritties. That's if you win a round in the first place. To not get a single one out. Again, we have rounds where Oscar gets a team kill with the AWP. We have rounds where NPL is able to get himself like an early kill. We have rounds where Headtrick is doing that as well. It's really just not enough. And the question is, will they be able to provide more as we head over to the last map? Let's find out after a bit of a break. Map 2-3 coming up. Who goes forward? Let's find out. What looked to be a clean 2-0 was anything but. Bait fumble what could have been the bag, a 9-3 lead that they had in that second map up against the Sinners, and they lose it out 13-9. But the question is, what happened about our Qiddiya player to watch in that map and in the one before that? Of course, right now, 15 and 14, NPL had the numbers, but it didn't feel like he had the impact there.
Yeah, unfortunately, getting numbers, that's not enough, right? You have to actually roll the ball over the finish line, and that's something that Bait really struggled with, and it's so surprising, because honestly, dude, we see that first half, we head to break, and I'm already telling you that I think that this is a foregone conclusion, right? But what a shout, what a clap back from Sinners. Incredible.
The question is, can they clamp it forward, though? Of course, 1-1 is all nice and dandy, but now we're going to be heading over to map number 3. And of course, with Anubis being in the cards, both of these teams looking like I don't know what I'm going to see from them, right? We see that really nice aggressive opening coming out from the T side from Oscar, which can work wonders in Anubis in mid-rounds and late rounds. But also, we saw Headtrick on Inferno looking really good on the CT side. Riflers on either side are having their turns, raising their hands and having their chances. Everything is up in the air. We have no idea where this one will go, but let's find out. Take this journey with us.
And it'll be really interesting to watch that Headtrick versus Oscar dynamic now, right? You pump some confidence back into Oscar. You know that Headtrick's been humbled a bit. Maybe not by too much because he was still popping off towards the end of that second game. But I think the op dynamic just sometimes overrules Anubis if you're looking specifically on that connector extremity. So we'll see how that ends up rolling out. Ooh,
okay,
Alex, nasty way to start things off, and maybe a precedent.
Well,
ouch.
That's a little bit nasty as well. Morisco takes over that A-bomb site, and now with Alex coming through, Alex has been immutable since Mirage. He's been the one consistent force on B8, and right now he had to finish off, but a clean shot from Shock will shut it down.
Incredible work from Alex, but it is Shock, in fact, to take it. And you can't really take any credit away from Morisco, who even allowed it to get to that point. And it's a bit of a flubbed round from Headtrick with the dualies over towards Pillar. I honestly thought he'd be able to get more work done, but Sinners, they've definitely gotten off to the right start, and you got to consider that we're looking at Sinners starting off on the nicer side, and the comfort of having the first 2 or 3 rounds has been taken away from Bait as well. Matchgate. That's Alex down. Oscar. Love how he just holds down mouse 1. Much like I do, but I just don't hit anything.
He knows what to do with the Galil. Use those bullets. You paid for them. Might as well. Shock. He's a little bit more frugal with his
Whenever
magazine.
you say something like that, right, it reminds me of the fact that back in 1.6, you'd actually have to pay for bullets. Like, you'd spam, like, dot and comma on your keyboard just to get, like,
dot
each
and
individual...
comma? What are you talking about?
Do you not remember that? That was the...
No, I know.
No,
that was not
to spam buy, like, that was the default bind. Like,
okay,
sorry,
I just
spam ammo.
that.
Just spam ammo.
I just remembered
like,
the number codes. That was all. Ammo was.
No, okay, so but that's how you get the
B17.
weapon, right? But not the ammo.
No, but even for the ammo was B17 for primary ammo.
Really?
B16 for secondary, yeah.
Okay, I wasn't much of a 1.6 player, but I feel like I have that detail, right? But we'll see. Gotta visit our old friend over at Google, but Sinners.
In all fairness, I did also play 1.3, not 1.6, so...
Okay, probably bullets were free back then, who knows. But we're
No,
watching
no,
CS2 right now, so...
You did have the secondary buy-up for the ammo, don't worry about that. You're right about that. Still, match key. Great craft in that MAC-10, by the way. Nice little addition of the saw stickers. Essential's watching out to see if he can take down that craft without it getting any blood on it. Match key hits the deck. Ooh, great timing from Marisco. He's already starting to look really clean on this map so far, and Sinners should be able to find that third round no problem.
Yeah, a fumble from Bait once more. See them having to back out of the B bomb site. And it did look like a decent setup, but you really have to pat Marisco on the back for that timing he's able to find in connector. We talked about a really solid start for Sinners, and they are able to get 3. Now, problem is they don't find all the casualties, which means that it's going to be yet another buyer from Bait, but it does become a bit lopsided because you've got 3 players on the rifles, and even if you have money, right, you drop over rifle, sure, but utility isn't going to be fully stacked. Maybe something for Sinners to play around with. The 3 on the tee. Sinners should be very happy with it, because once it comes down to the 1-1 scoreline in the series, it's basically a best of 1.
Well, you say basically a best of 1, but also you have to keep in mind all of the context of the previous map and the shoulder of Bait. It is a very young team. It is a lot of pressure to have lost that one out over there. The journey to the ESL Pro League could be cut short because of a lost lead like that. It's all in the back of their head. They've never made Pro League before in the organization's history. For Sentinel right now, he started off very nicely with the 5-7, swings out, gets information, and will recede.
Well, I like that Bait aren't going to instantly jump the gun. They still want to conceal that M4 from head trick. And if the pistols can be good pawns, then maybe the queen can emerge. Head trick, of course, has been as potent as the theoretical chess piece on maps 1 and 2. Does that continue on map 3? Numbers equalized, yes. But quite a bit of space being given up, and Alex does venture out. Oh, Captain Kirka, where is this action even happening? 3 kills found in Bait. Is that how Bait put the first round on the board?
Effective pushes are always really nice to see on Inferno, but even more so when you're down with the half buy behind you. Essential makes it that you keep 4 players alive as well as Sinners will at least have money to be able to buy up into the next one very comfortably so, but Bait set themselves up for what could be a run of it. It's all about this round and winning it.
Almost a sigh of relief, some kind of godsend for them to be able to find that round. Captain Kirka, that is some miraculous work. You know, to be fair, Bait have actually been kind of ridiculous with some of those pistols, some of those annoying rounds. But Sinners have been able to match their energy.
Oh, that flashbang will do nothing! Shock is ready and waiting to shoot out.
That opens things up as well. Look at this A bomb site being abandoned. A rotator starts to back away, and maybe if head trick even has 1 foot through the door, it doesn't matter because you'll have quite a bit to contend with.
Oh my god, this full assault on the A side. Head trick's got nowhere to go. This bomb's gonna be planted for sure. And with a refresher on the Molotov, there's literally nothing that Headtrick can do to interrupt over here. They still have util. That's the problem with it, losing a player out like that so early in. The post plan looks nearly impossible. Headtrick fully blinded out, but he's allowed to recover. Beastic doesn't fully clear. Back out into heaven. Here comes Bait.
Oh, Headtrick double monster kill right there. Marisco does try to fight back. And Matchkey able to keep them off the bomb, but can't even find the first. Bait, they're setting up very nicely to make it the equalizer.
This is the problem with losing up against a half-pie in such a convincing manner. Bait are going to be demolishing the Sinners economy. Sinners will have a chance to try and make Bait feel the same pain that they themselves have gone through. Anubis is one of the most conducive maps to having set plays and set strats for getting half-pies with the Tech 9 to overrun and overwhelm. It's got great executes, it's got good defensible post-plan positions, especially if the CT is guessing correctly for anything at all. And right now, with this cluster and clump up nearer to dark than not, there is a chance.
Chance to overwhelm, yes, but it's being denied right now. Essential eventually overpowered. And the rotator found as well. NPL wants to be invited to the party. And he does have an invitation, but Matchkey denies, and so does Oscar. Sinners back to winning ways before the equalizer can come through.
Oh? Always love me a little bit of a jiggling Tech 9. Doobie doobie dooba doobie doobie dooba.
How did you know that's exactly what was playing in my head?
Everyone knows it's
expose the producer for not having skins.
Parry the platypus. No, okay. Are we done with the finish and prep? No. A couple of hiccups, guys. It happens. Online CS, right? You know it. I know it. If you don't want to watch online CS, that's what the ESL Pro League is for. Also going on these days on twitch.tv/ESLCS and twitch.tv/ESLCSB. But please don't leave me. My internal validation is entirely dependent on numbers, and because I don't have Instagram followers, I have to take them from Twitch viewer accounts instead.
Speaking of online CS, we could. This is also a decent space to talk about competing because T-Time, I'll let you have the plug here because you know I've already given you enough trauma by competing alongside you. How about you How about you help the others get in on that experience?
Yeah, of course, you guys can sign up for the ESEA Season 51 over on the Faceit platform at any point for yourselves. Go check that out as well while we have a bit of a pause on that, and it'll literally take you 30 seconds. I already know you're logged in on Faceit, gearing to go for some CS after this match is finished. The match is still ongoing. Don't worry about it, guys. I'm just going to quickly chime in and check out if we have anything going. I see what the problem is. The match is paused. That is a problem.
Not much of a problem, so we'll be
you
fine,
know.
honestly. Like, okay, so we do know that it's not a tactical timeout. I guess does that offer some comfort? And about the validation, like, I'm sorry, but I can't offer that. Like,
listen, you went out and you got your big muscles and you got your big curls and you got your big Instagram follower account. I know you got that going for yourself. For us, you can't relate to me and my peasantry, my plebeianism, my absolutely terrible social media that I do have in comparison to yours, you Greek god of a man. But I'm less interested in Greek gods. I'm more interested in Czech gods. Actually, there's a very good Greek player on Alter Attacks these days. He's Greek-German, but still has the Greek flag. Go check him out as well as Ozek. I'm hoping that Alter Attacks can do a good job as well in the ESL Challenger League as time moves on, but that's a separate conversation. Right now, it's all between Sinners and Bait, and of course, as a reminder, we are playing for a eventual slot at the ESL Pro League Season 21.
yeah, and honestly, we didn't even think we'd get to this point after. Well, not just the first map, but the start of the second map, because it was about as one-sided as it gets, right? For anyone tuning in late, we were probably packing our suitcases. Well, not suitcases, maybe shutting our briefcases for the day. At least
briefcases? You have a briefcase? Oh my god, he's made of money. The Instagram followers.
You don't? Yeah, all four of them have really been contributing to the subscription button. They've been clicking it like crazy. Yeah. But point is, everyone can have a briefcase if you only have like $50, but get it all in $1 bills. Other than that, though, I mean, it was a very...
you have a briefcase and you're filling it up. I was talking
and
about
$50 whole dollars.
Okay, wow. Oh my goodness. Got the big bucks coming out of here for us. I feel like we're making the stream a little bit unrelatable if we continue to talk about your generational wealth like that. So let's maybe get off of that and the old money trends that it feels like everyone wants to get onto Instagram. Let's maybe talk more about the CS space and what's going on with the ESL Pro League, because I've got a bone to pick. Spirit, Can you be a little bit better or a lot worse, one or the other? Because what I found out is my favorite team, the Mongols, is going to be going up against Team Spirit tomorrow at, I believe it's about 12:30 CEST, might be 1:30 PM, I'm not sure, but one or the other. Make sure you're tuning in for that one, because for some reason the Mongols have to go up against Spirit again. Oh, wait, I know why. Because MIBR beat them because only Donk and Shiro had hands on Anubis, and exactly that map is what we're playing right now. Can I get a Donk Shiro performance from anyone on the server? Because if I can't, I'm just going to be disappointed.
Yeah, and they're so hot and cold, right? Like, even if you look at sort of like the interviews around them and things like that, you're just never really sure what version of Spirit you're going to find. And unfortunately, in our case, right, like Asia represent, it's not exactly ended too well.
Listen, we beat them last time, right? We're the ones who knocked them down from Cologne to go up against G2. Why not knock them down and out of Pro League as well? 9-10 had a fantastic match today up against Koi in map number 1. Actually, overall, a really good match from Mongols. 26-1 across that best of 3 was a good time. And if you want more of those good times and you want more of those updates, make sure you're tuning into the main streams every day, all day. That's a nice thing about Pro League. It always does bring you a lot of Counter-Strike. It's actually wild to me that back in the day, Pro League was online initially, and then you went into a LAN finals. Because now I just look at it and it's like, oh yeah, of course we're going to have this 32-team tournament taking place over 3 weeks with all of the best teams of Counter-Strike and all of the contenders of Counter-Strike coming up against them. That's just normal, right? That's supposed to happen.
Yeah, I mean, we're really spoiled for the amount of events we're now able to get. Like, there was a time where, like, to get into this kind of position, you'd be like, oh, I have to essentially wait like half the calendar year, and then you get to like really watch the big boy matches. You get to see the storylines being unfolded, but now you can see that quite often. But perhaps that's like better if you're looking at it from the perspective of being able to track like how the team's doing the whole year. But it's also a little bit worse because sometimes I also think, hey, that one sort of piece of bragging rights you finally get, you can't just hold it over a team's head for like 7 months at a time, right? So maybe that's just like me because I win only like once a year. But yeah, I don't think anybody else shares that.
Something like I Am Cologne, then you can hold up those bragging rights. When you look over towards those Masters events that ESL does, of course, put out I Am Cologne, I Am Katowice, or if you get the majors, and those feel like they're pretty braggy to me. You can always put those ones up as bragging rights for yourselves, and of course, that path for you guys can also start with the SCA season 51. Go check that one out over there. Get competing, get a team together, get some scrims together, get some fans together, get a social media, get a salary, get a championship, get a trophy, get an era. And that's the story of Astralis for you guys out there.
And not our story as a team that has decidedly.
We did register in all fairness. We didn't scrim in all fairness, right? We didn't get to step number
listen, there are teams that have made it to like the top level without scrimming. Zero tenacity, like, come on. Like, are you kidding me?
Listen, they scrimmed once upon a time, right? They scrimmed once upon a time. One of the cool things, though, about this Challenger League season compared to the other ones is that we are in a very exclusive spot where Pro League is a little bit more up in the air. We don't know how it's going to be working out next year with invites and things like that. Obviously, now no longer with the Louvre agreement being intact, we can't have partner spots anymore because Valve's new system says so. We are still going to be having teams invited on the basis of the Valve World Ranking, but if it's going to be a 32-team tournament again, well, 32 teams is a lot of teams to invite, right? And then when you add in the fact that, there's clashing calendars, there's teams that, might be invited elsewhere, qualifying to a tier 1 event right now is like that guarantee that your next year's calendar is going to have some decent spots for you to be able to find info. That being said, though, I have a guarantee that we are going in-game as well. Back into Anubis, it is Sinners and Bait in a minute. You thought I was going to go in right now, didn't you? That gives me a little bit more time to just talk about the fact that this season's ESL Challenger League is incredibly important for these European teams. There's 2 slots available for Pro League as always, and those might be the only 2 guaranteed tier 1 slots that you can get as a Bait, as a Sinners, before things get murky.
Yeah, and if you're a team like Bait, you know that you've got the performance to get it done, and they've often been able to furnish it on the server as well, but then they also really fumble the bag many times. Like that second map, we thought it was going to be a closer. We get it done in 2 bites, but it was absolutely not the case. Sinners are still contesting, and map 3 is not going to be an easier affair at all. Shouldn't be too long before we go into the game, though, and that's where most of our questions are going to be answered. Definitely a lot of question question marks all over Bait because, like, we've seen before we headed into the game, we were like, hey, which version of Bait are we going to see today? Apparently both within the span of the same series.
Turn out we get to flip coins and find out the different sides of Bait very clearly. Bait have had some misfortune though, actually, Wild 80. They elected to not be a part of the ESL Challenger Atlanta European Close qualifiers because they went for the IM Rio qualifiers instead, and as a result of that, they weren't able to qualify for either one of those. Now, with there only being technically 2 tournaments that can give you a slot into Pro League, it's this one and the ESL Challenger Katowice, for which you're going to have to go through European qualifiers. If you go through the European qualifiers, it's probably open qualifiers. After open, it's closed. You win the close qualifier. Then you've got an 8-team LAN to be at, where there's also going to be 3 world ranking invites, and then there's going to be probably a South American team that's going to come through and kind of wreck your faces a little bit as well. It's not an easy road. At the very least, ESL Challenger League is the devils you know. It's a lot of teams that you have practice going up against. It's, you know, teams like Sinners, where you've had a lot of head-to-heads. And same goes for Sinners as well. This season of League is increasingly important as we recognize how many qualifiers these guys have unfortunately not been able to make it through.
Yeah, the problem is you mentioned that you're going up against the Devils you know, right? But unfortunately, those are also generally the Devils that have a little bit more notoriety, right? Especially when you're in this like complicated, like half the teams are like already really good, but then half of the players that are going through roster shuffles can be incredibly good potentially, and they're still in all sorts of qualifiers. Like if you look at an example like Cloud9, right? Like they've got all the makings of a top echelon team, but they're still going to be fighting it out in sort of the lower stages.
Yeah, especially because when you consider that roster shuffles themselves do reset a lot of the ranking points that are used for invitations, right? So Cloud9 probably do have to play a lot more of these online events, so they probably do have to play a lot more of these qualifiers. They do have to go to some of these ESL Challenger lands that maybe before, when they were ranked 6 or 7 in the world, they would have elected not to go into. Similarly, you look out towards Falcons, you look out towards these teams that are between that 12 and 18 range, which might have aspirations for being higher up. There are huge hurdles if you end up going into the Challenger LAN events and relying on those as being your primary factor to go forward. Now, obviously, both of these teams are also going to be happy to be at a Challenger LAN because they don't get as much LAN experience as they'd like to, but still something to keep in mind just to keep the stakes nice and high. We do apologize that the game hasn't started yet, by the way, guys. We are just trying to get that one underway. The reason why you can't see my hands is because I'm holding a toolbar and a wrench, and I'm trying to screw the game's nuts back together. So you hear that?
Dude, you're missing a piece.
Oh, no!
Put that back in there.
Oh, God. I'm going to have to start doing all of this again.
The whole 9 yards as well. Oh,
okay,
man.
Well, okay. All right. Got to get my hands flexed up and get ready to go. Anyway, we are kind of waffling. What do you like for breakfast?
What do I like for breakfast? Huh? You know, there's like 10 more relevant conversations we can have. Like
Go
the
for
fact
it.
that
Why not? You know, I mean, just listen, to make a waffle joke.
Listen, like this was like this is probably a good spot for me to like tell the viewers that, hey, the reason Tea Time can waffle on for so long about the intricacies of systems, like, hey, this team needs this many points or this or that, is exactly why you should be hiring him for like a general manager cushy spot. Please and don't. He can dude, I'm trying to plug you. Come on, you gotta take it.
All right, I think I'm done being plugged by you. That was a good time and all, but maybe I don't want to accept that in my life. This is still very much about the match that we have on our hands, and we're going to be getting back into it right now. Anubis, this is the deciding map, and let's find out who will be coming out on top in the decider. 4-2 for City Esports. Hetrick and company will still be pulling out a full buy. It is op on op, and let's see whether Sinners can come out on top.
So far, so good for the team that has been furnishing a comeback for the longest time. But Bait, they have more in the tank still. Yes, they're up against a wall as far as the money's concerned, but they do still have a gun round before they'll truly falter. And Oscar has been going for so many of these little peaks. You can really tell that the team orchestrates themselves around their primary opper. And it often pays dividends. Very high percentages as well. Now Sinners, they've gotten so much space on middle. They've basically just dry walked it. Captain Kirk not exactly hitting his bullets. But it's a 1-for-1 trade. NPL wants to let himself be known very soon. Head trick trying to isolate one of the angles, but his head has been quickly connected by a bullet. Alex and Essential in a 2-on-4 that surely they want to back out of.
Yeah, Captain Kurt really needed to find that kill there. It felt like Shock even had an earlier time into a commit when he hears Hetrick chucking out the Molotov, but he's worried about where the incendiary is going to be landing. Because obviously you hear him throwing utility, you don't hear the flames for one thing, I believe, for the CT incendiary. But also you don't know where it's going to be dropping regardless, so... Yeah. Anyway, nice setup coming through from Sinners where they completely exploit that empty middle side of the map that they get. Morisco and company just moving in through, very, very nicely done between them.
Now, of course, any of the rounds the Sinners are getting at the moment do have the asterisk of getting that done on the terrorist side. You want to maximize your chances, but you do know that Bait, once they get on over to the more advantageous side, they should be able to have a bit more output. Now, 5-2, of course, is still a very cushy spot to be in, so...
Yeah. It's getting to escape velocity right now for Sinners, that's for sure.
Especially because Bait don't immediately have an answer, right? They can't exactly exhaust their wallets just yet. 6 almost has to be forked over unless we see a pop-off performance, like M9 pistol combo perhaps, but Mystic is minimizing the chances of that happening, and so is Morisco, who, by the way, has really picked up after the second half of the second match.
I mean, Morisco across it feels like every single one of the wins that Sinners have found has been, as far as round wins on Anubis as well, has been instrumental in just getting territory more than anything else. Some of these kills in through smokes and everything will be good for padding up his stats and reflecting more of what the impact he's had in. Even that previous round, he doesn't get a kill, but going in that way, finding all the space into middle, it is an incredibly key role to have. B-side stack from Bait, though, and this is a stack that might be played with a little bit too deeply. Sinners are going to be heading back to B.
It'll still be fine, though. Problem is, they don't have enough members for this to qualify as much of a stack. See if it plays out, though. Head Trick does still have a rifle, so that could be problematic. Essential, oh no. Really needed that kill. Head Trick busy with an engagement, and that means that Captain Kirk is the only one remaining. Trying to be useful in the smoke, but we all know that as soon as he...
never mind.
You're a bad cheerleader.
Actually, I think I'm just sharing the wrong way. The second I started saying ninja, they started looking left, right. Oh no! Who's going to take Head Trick away from us now?
Fair enough, fair enough.
Last time was wrinkled, damn it. Not another one. I don't think Hedrick wants to go back to the ninjas right now. At the very least, he's been killing it on Bait.
Speaking of killing it on Bait, he's been doing a pretty stellar job throughout the series, despite that second map loss. So it's nice to see that he's able to continue that. Problem is, the scoreline isn't exactly anything
where is that nade from?
I don't even know, man. That hits. Oh, Head Trick, a little too antsy on the trigger, and he'll eventually be found. Look at this conversion that's about to happen now. Molotov blocks off the left exit. Captain Kirka first in contact. B-Stick, Head found. Essential and Alex, they found themselves in this position before. It's time to tuck your tails and run away because the powerhouse of Sinners has already nestled on the A-bomb site.
Dude, this is such cool utility. Okay, the nade's cool, right? The nade's clear cut. They throw another flashbang that is bounced off of the mid pillar opposite the camera entrance in a way where it pops above so you can still see it through the glass. And because you're seeing it through the glass, it still counts as visible in Counter-Strike. This is an old mechanic that was actually patched on Overpass, where you could chuck a flashbang forward in a way where it would blind all of bathrooms. That's what they've done over here, so that anyone who's holding a close angle will be blinded, but also anyone who might be nestled away on headshot, hoping to counteract after a camera contact, is also going to be blinded if they want to go for that. That's really cool.
Yeah, the devil's definitely in the details for Sinners. And these details have been paying off. 7-2. Not even sure what kind of stopping power Bait are going to need very soon. And regardless of what the sides might look like, right? Like whatever advantages you could potentially find on the T or the CT, something like 9 or 10 rounds for the T side is still not enough of a margin for the CTs to come back with. And to think Bait were able to wrap it all up, put a ribbon on it. The Sinners refuse to be displayed at the gift shop.
Push forward from Bait out in through A main. But little do they know. This wraparound NPL spots it. Marisco's dead. Marisco has always been accompanied by a pack.
Hello, Hedrick.
Hedrick, advantage might have been there as far as the crossbar is concerned, but Captain Kurt is the one to actually punish. We're back to a 2v2. This is all possible.
With how good Sinners have looked, possible, yes, but definitely not favorable. You can see Captain Kirka trying to poke around the smoke to maybe find something in B-Stick. Not sure if he spotted anything over the top of the smoke. But it does look like pretty solid positions from them. Time starting to tick down, and this is where they really have to force their hand. They have to try and push through the smoke. First prong is the middle player. Alex switches targets, and the opposite bit slow, but it's okay. The re-aggression next, and Oscar finds a second victim, and Captain Kirka is down along with the rest of his crew.
Damn, this is what Oscar does. Post plant positions are a nightmare against an Opera who is comfortably positioned and has no utility to flush him out. Oscar reminds us exactly why. Bait get incredibly close in that half-by round, but it's not going to be enough, and Sinners have very much reached escape philosophy. Screw it, why not? They have reached escape philosophy. Aristotle would be proud.
Couple more rounds for Sinners, sweeten the deal, but this is sweet enough already. Essential sees them coming. Utility is well timed. Alex being afforded space, and this is a really good duo combo that they've got going on. Alex does become relevant eventually, and switching over to the pistol is able to find the victim before it comes all down to Oscar. He's been really good before, but this time Oscar has his number on speed dial. Or head trick, rather.
Yeah, it's okay. They love each other. They like to speed dial. There you go. Sinners have largely been focused on defaults where they've been forcing Bait to give up middle, and then Sinners exploits that. Going for a full straight up side hit early on into the round doesn't pay off too well for them. That's a change in pace that they try and go for, and you have to respect that, but can they stop Bait from finding respect of their own? 4 would be the only respectable scoreline that you could imagine here. Oh, Oscar. I'm telling you, they're just calling each other back and forth. They're sitting till the wee hours of the night. Ooh, tell me how you are again.
On their phone, twiddling their thumbs, kicking legs up in the air.
Twirling their hair. But right now, it's NPL who's had his hair and head twirled around and snapped off of his body. Oscar takes him down, and with that second kill, it feels like Bait are reeking of desperation. Alex is scared. Flash forward. Oscar dodges it. Moves back for a repeat. That's Alex punishing it. Of course he is. But little does he know, B-Stick is also nearby.
And problem is, all he's got to do now is keep this engagement ripe. Everybody else, they can head on over to the A-bomb site, and B-Stick, he just keeps them occupied. That's all that is necessary. I mean, that's fine, right? Sure, details aren't perfect, but B-Stick, as long as he's here, he's also denying the quick rotation from Connector. B-Stick, yeah. Nails have been put in the coffin. Captain Kirka, unfortunately, has been a victim to treacherous waters, and Sinners, where they look like they would fall, they finally managed a way back into the game. We're going to find out after the break if Bait can break their presence.
9 threes haven't always been guarantees, but they can be quite close to it if you just forget about Mirage. Sinners are hoping to remember Mirage and remember the form that they have maintained ever since then. Bait on the back foot.
This round is of the essence. There's no way you can afford to fork this one over. Bait, the treacherous climb on an impossible staircase starts with one step, and that step is the opening kill onto Majki. A retake starting to ensue with 4 players on the front foot. But quite a bit of time has elapsed, and they're now starting to get into good position. Smoke is going to impeding progressions. Obscurity makes it so much harder. Morisco, the late addition, the last prong, but the problem is Headtrick has already found a victim, and this is just going to keep getting worse. It's just been too long. With Alex finding another kill, Morisco, Oscar, they're still trying to have some footing in this round, but it's simply too late. Bait, they find their 4th.
And they find their passageway forward. Sinners was able to tread the same treacherous path to a victory in Mirage. Bait hope to look to do the same. Sinners will, however, be countering it out with a full eco on their own part. Oscar will be able to buy up the naked op in the next round if he would like to do so. I imagine he would not, I'll be honest, but still.
Now you got to remember that Bait, if they can manage to somehow match the freak of Sinners, they'd only have to get 5 rounds in a row. And I say only, but you know how it goes. It is at least against the CT side, though, so that's maybe a bit of comfort. Perhaps. No takers?
Perhaps.
Come on. I'm kind of disappointed that you don't hear the word freak and just break into song.
I did it mentally, which is why I stopped listening to anything you said afterwards. I was like, somebody got a mess.
My nasty. Speaking of nasty, pretty nasty advantage for Sinners.
Yeah, it's been a couple of nasty shots coming out from Oscar as well. Of course, we talked about how Morisco was one of the big propelling factors on the T side. It's unlikely that he can continue to have the same success on CT, because the way that he was propelling them forward was positional, it was finding space, it was creating vacuums in the map that Bait was unable to fill. Hard to do the same with the CT side.
Yeah, you just have to wait it out here. At least it's a nice view. Water's a good temperature.
It really is.
It's fenced off as well, so it's nice and safe.
Ooh. Ignore the gunshots and the bombs going
yeah.
off all around.
And the players actively chasing you.
And the Egyptian god that it's named after, who somehow seems to be pretty angry about the fact that his shrine is being defiled.
Like 9 times per map. Pretty
At
bulletproof
least.
though, so.
That's true.
Or if it's that bomb-proof, you know, you gotta start believing.
Well, right now, Sinners are believing that it's going to be the M4s to help them find success. They don't have utility behind them either. I hate like Deagle investments in eco round and things like it. It just makes you look so incredibly weak on utility in the actual gun round. Let's see what the plan is, though. It's hard to actually get aggressive with these rifles, but Shock might want to make a solo play, and that's exactly what he's done, but he trades his life for it. Hendrick makes that a 1-for-1. And Bait retreat.
Problem is, this could very easily convert into a very big positional advantage if they can only overpower Oscar, who's not showing himself just yet. Oh, and he's not pulled the trigger, so they won't check! Enough damage done, and as he's falling, he holds on to one of the player's legs and takes him down with him. 2-on-3, Headtrick still making his mark, and Bait desperately need this round. Headtrick coming away with all that and more. B-Stick, 1 versus 2. Oh, he tries to prioritize targets. He's at least brought it down to just 1, and the spray down is successful. Sinners, they've continued their winning ways. What a fumble from the 2v1 of Bait.
Headtrick got 4 kills there. I mean, what more can you ask for, right? It's obviously an aggressive start from Sinners, but then Bait is in great position to actually punish the emptiness of the A-bomb side. They just don't clear out Oscar. Oscar finds those 2 frags. I barely even saw him getting that second one, to be honest. Just happened to get the head in the way of his crosshair. Sinners still have terrible money though, and let's not forget about that. It is 3 MP9s and 2 M4s that they take forward into this next buy round.
The options, the margins starting to run thin, but it's not quite out of arm's reach just yet. Early progression via the courtesy of the smoke does give them some room on middle to breathe, but Bait aren't jumping the gun at all. Slower default, that's what we expected from them on Mirage. That's what they had going, and it doesn't seem like their tune on Anubis is too different once they have relatively equal amounts of firepower.
It's like a Nickelback song. It might sound the same, but doesn't mean it's not a good tune to sing along to. Still, mollies exchanged, mollies will delay. Bait still trying to go into a site that is protected by 3 players, one of whom is having a ball. The flash is fantastic. Matchkey, though, is not. Can't pull it together, and Bait will pull them apart. Sinners look to have that round in the palm of their hands, but they just can't come through with the kills.
Looks like the right setup. The issue was always that, hey, it was a bit of an underpowered setup, just courtesy of the weapons they were holding on to.
He had the chance to get at least 2 kills over there into dark. He just couldn't prioritize targets, right? And then the flash also was kind of missed. If it went right into the E-box area, I think they would have all been blind. Didn't look like anyone was actually playing anti-flash.
And now with money running thin for Sinners and Bait slowly continuing their climb, this is actually a very reasonable prospect. The scoreline is no longer in the comeback zone anymore. 10-7 if they can just get to it. Not too far off. And it's actually quite easy to now keep breaking the economy of Sinners, so what may look like a relatively difficult climb, it does have some pit stops on the way where you can sort of freshen up. Utility lined up by Headtrick. A is the name of the game, and 0 defenders does mean that it should be a relatively easy take. Now, they're close enough that the rotations instantly come in, but it should mostly just be a shooting gallery. Alex, you gotta watch out. We've seen a team kill already.
I've seen 2, actually.
Yeah, that could have been a 3rd.
This round was always going to be a gimme, and we can see why. Team Ace, maybe? NPL? Or the only one who hasn't wet his sword with blood? Not yet, at least.
I feel like when you're using the word blood, it has to be accompanied by something like drenched or soaked and not wet. It doesn't sound as cool.
It's just blood, man. Sometimes you donate it, sometimes you spill it.
Fair enough.
Up out for Oscar. We need to spill it now. Donations have been plenty from Sinner's side, but maybe time to stop being such a good Samaritan. They do not have a kit on the CT side, by the way, so let's not forget about that.
Yeah, that's very interesting, especially because you know that Anubis is a map that is often opened up to retakes. NPL. And nearly found the timing. Mariska actually, is he thinking about it? Maybe some spam? No. A man can dream. Essential, perfect flashbang from Alex, and they don't need to press the issue any further. And with Captain Kirka being on the case, not exactly sure what that position is, but B-Stick could actually recuperate their losses. Has a lineup? No, just not the timing. And Matchkey desperately back into the action. Okay. This is negotiable, but some very difficult deals have to be struck. Oscar, unfortunately, cannot sign off on them, but Matchkey still does have pen and paper available. He'll be putting that paper right down the shredder.
That's such a weird setup coming out on the A side. I mean, Morisco misses out on a lot of these timings that he could have taken advantage of. That's fine, right? Like in mid, you can just get outplayed sometimes in mid, no worries. What are you trying to accomplish with the A main setup, though, right? You have a player looking aggressively in through for a fight into the water area. Your second man isn't close enough to swing, so he's on an effective anti-flash. You're also not really going to be able to do much if your first player goes down 1-for-1 and then there's a follow-up push through into A main, because that might be multiple players. It just feels like the setup doesn't accomplish that much.
That is true. I will say, though, I was very focused on him hiding behind a very frail bush. It's like, if I don't move, they won't see me.
Well, right now, the Sinners haven't moved very much in the second half. They've only gone from 9 to 10, and I don't see them. So maybe you're right. Tactical timeout as they're trying to find a cloak of visibility, or as they call it in fashion these days, a statement piece. But no one's really ready to make that statement.
And we may have seen statements like that from Oscar before, but he's really slowed down now that he's on the CT side. And you know, he had all that support early on. They were beating them on the timings. He was going for some more unorthodox plays where we saw his AWP constantly peeking over the top of smokes. But we've never really had the camera on him and been surprised by anything new that's been brought to the table. And with Bait being within punching range now, I'd almost think that they're more favored to win the game, especially because they're on the tee. It's tough.
Well, it might be getting tougher if you can't get some of these deagles to start firing off as well. It's not even about getting the round, it's just about getting your hands a little bit warmed up, and every single timing is just working in favor of Bait so far. The fate of Mirage seems to be looming in on Anubis over here as well. What was done to Bait, they will look to inflict on the Sinners.
I was hopeful for Oscar's little attempt there, but they pop a nade through the goosh sound and what's up. But yeah, Bait, they're running away with it for sure. And easy to start out a team from a comeback, completely lost all momentum. Like, hey, we completely powered through map. We almost got map 2 done. Comeback. First half is actually being won by the team that was successful in the comeback. On like a 9-3 scoreline, something very potent at the start. Do start to discount Bait a little bit, but they're here to prove us wrong. And I knew that being switched up, we would see in gameplay, yes, but to this degree, probably not. It's kind of crazy that Bait even able to sort of end play courtesy of the pistol round, right? Or we might have seen a pretty one-sided scoreline, perhaps.
Yeah.
Nice to see more gun rounds being coming out, because that was one of the issues we saw in Inferno. Oscar didn't get to use the AWP enough. So nice to see a very fleshed out game.
Well, listen, Oscar is going to get to use the AWP as many times as he wants to. At this point, he's going to have it one more time, and this is the last time where it will be able to stop Bait from equalizing. It does feel a little bit now or never at this stage for Sinners. It's a mental block that they could be running into, and it's hard to keep your head intact if that's what you're going to be doing.
It's much more easy to keep your composure intact if you're Bait when you have Headtrick going 19-9. Alex popping off Matchkey. Now they're going to try and throw a wrench in the works, but that push just doesn't have any gas behind it. No support. Runs straight through to his death. Akin to walking the plank. And it's fitting because there is a captain on the other side.
Chalk might be found out over here as well. They're expecting aggression from Sinners, and it's a great angle to be nestling into because it is probably not going to be fully checked over here. Alex adjusts though, despite the headshot. Alex, if I stop the spray, will be able to get a headshot of his own, and now it is suddenly a 5-on-3. Marisco smokes off A main, but the Molotovs are coming in. The T's know it's their time to go, and Marisco is sending them back where they came from. Essential at least trades.
Well, I think Oscar wanted to pull the trigger there. He saw something. Looked a bit surprised that a bullet hadn't escaped his barrel, but the nade is good. Headtrick waiting for the smoke to dissipate. NPL has caught the second player, but Oscar is caught in between a rock and an even bigger rock. As he looks for the second, pistols out. At least he's prioritizing the right target. brings it down to just the one, but Hetrick is absolutely ready. Bait, the great equalizer.
Matchkey even gets everything going for him in that push over there because Hetrick misses that first shot despite being on the big hot streak of form that he's been on. Matchkey just gets instantly dinked by Essential though, right? He's not winning that. Then you see Alex winning a duel that he wasn't prepared for. He was given time to adjust into. Sinners have chances, and they're hard chances to pull off, right? Don't get me wrong, but we're not seeing any of them come to fruition.
See that second tactical timeout come out when it's equalized already. It kind of seems like a bit of a lost cause when you've lost all the momentum. Dial it back to the start of the half, and this was a story that could have hardly been foretold, but Bait, they've been unrelenting. I'm honestly just so impressed by Hetrick at the moment. 20-9, 18-12 for Alex. This consistent output from the top players is unreal. Oh, it's a really botched flash, and Beatstick gets away with two blindfolded. Matchkey, though, you need to connect shots. Eventually does. Op and AK combo to start overruling the B bomb site. There's not much force behind what's waiting for them, but Captain Kirka is so aware. Are they going to go for a second tap? Yeah. The commitment's finally made, but Morisco's already in position. But by the time he is, they're already nestling into the back of the bomb site. AK's ready, head found, and Shock. The 5-7 is of no use as Bait finally inch forward. T-time.
The captain steers the ship right back into order. That looked like with the double kill that Beastlick finds while flashed up, that would be all that was needed. But then the delayed shot with the deagle onto the low player, it takes away your chance of punishing further. Bait might be counting their lucky stars to be where they are, but at the end of the day, it is a lead that they have found after being down 9-3, and Sinners feel like they're one gun round away from taking a knee.
Because that is the truth, isn't it? We saw Bait win nothing beyond their first streak on map 2, and we might be seeing Sinners face the exact same outcome. Looked all hunky-dory even in map 3, but this game has proved to be very contentious. Had Beasting under the limelight. We were talking about how he's not really had too many solid performances just in terms of output, but he's not the one lining the bottom of the scoreboard right now. It's Morisco and Matchkey, where they were dominant forces on the T side. The CT, they've been silenced. Bait back into comfort. They know that their bread is particularly buttered by the defaults, and they're happy to make that their breakfast.
Look at how much space they've got on middle. Oscar's given it up as well, and if he refaces back in, this is going to be certain death. The only advantage for him is that Hetrick is not here, so technically if he wants to go for the slow peak, he's not going to be having an AWP to deal with. Shock's got a boost up in from behind the pillar, but the Bait are comfortable delaying long enough that the smoke would have run out regardless, so Shock will have to disassemble that boost. It's going to be a mid-centered pull from Bait, but the attack is still coming out from A main.
Oscar, you really need to pop off now. Okay, that's the first shot, yes. But Shock needs to deliver as well. No, he's turned around. What? Is there a player still there? Shock, why aren't you being shot at? Captain Kirka finally activates, and that's two. So awkward. An uncomfortable engagement, sure, but Bait still come out on top. I'm not sure how. Basic and Matchkey now desperately trying to go for the retake. They know there's no money in the tank, but these positions are very deadly, and so is Essential. Brings it down to just Matchkey, who's trying to isolate the duel, but he's got a teammate in the corner. A main has a player. There's the nade to find it, but Head Trick is all too aware. With Matchkey falling, that's bait on the 12.
I've got to give Hedrick some credit for this. He's been really, really good at knowing when to take these duels on the A side post once. It seems like every time Hedrick is alive with the op, he's not actually misstepped or overstepped a single time to try and overpeak something. He's always playing off of the death of his teammates. He's getting good timings. It's really veteran play coming out from a player as young as him.
Incredible. And these timings have, these good timings have been a staple for him all the way from Inferno, right? It's not just something that has been brought to our attention on Anubis. It's not just something we saw on Mirage, for instance. If you recall his performance over towards the long side of the A bomb site, that's pretty much what we were seeing. And yeah, maybe the caveat of that is that, hey, he's just a really good shot too, which allows him to go for something that's like theoretically a little worse. But he's just a total package.
No matter how good of a shot you are, you gotta reset between shooting in with the op, right? That's where Hedrick has
you
never
can't change
been
the source
punished.
code.
Yeah, hopefully.
Not yet.
The next Olaf boost. Morisco. Earth damage is making him feel uncomfortable. Is there a plan to push through the smoke for Shock? No. Not quite. Man, I feel bad for Morisco. First Molotov, now the spam. It's consistently been this clear out A main protocol that's made Essential feel like such a threat out on this lurk. His numbers might not be matching his output right now, but it feels like he has been single-handedly making sure Sinners can never get aggressive. Flashback out in middle as Shock will go for the retake. Information is very handy, don't get me wrong, and that smoke blocking off information from the T side will be even more so, but you are leaning away from A, and that's what Bait have in mind as their target of attack.
This nigh fully abandoned bomb site is about to be met with the brute force of 5 players running right at it. Shock, he's been in this spot before, but he really needs to deliver if he wants to extend play. There's the first kill. Instant rebuttal found by Captain Kirka. A 3-on-4. One that Sinners can simply not shy away from. They're getting ready for the retake spots, and Bait, they might just be fully materializing the comeback against the comeback.
Oh no, B6 missed the Molotov as well.
No.
This is disaster, and it's striking in the hands of Alex. Quick kill found onto Oscar. Matchkey, the last one alive. The trades mean Hedrick will again be in the primary line. Matchkey gets one more. Hedrick untouchable from this exact spot. And now is no different.
Wow.
13 and 10. Bait will do to Sinners what was inflicted upon them. They take it home. They will move forward to the lower bracket finals, still in contention to qualify for the playoffs of the ESL Challenger League Season 48.
With that being said, now Bait, in a very unlikely way, they've guaranteed that they're going to be going against 9 Pandas, and that in itself is also going to be a very fun game to watch. But we can't really delve into it too much before we give props where they are due, because Bait, that was just incredible work. Like, as much as I love to pat Sinners on the back for what they were able to do, unfortunately, it quickly was brought under the shadow of what Bait were immediately able to answer back with.
And the man who might not have been putting up the numbers, but was certainly a rallying cry from behind them, Qaddiya, player of the match, NPL. Again, numbers are not what you need to be looking at. This is why he's a player to watch, because you need to see what he's doing, how he's corralling the troops, how he's bringing people back and forth. Effective defaults are so hard to pull off when you feel the fire of being so far behind, but he was doing it up against very experienced players, 36 and 40 across the entirety of the series. And listen, he didn't have a good time individually. This was not his best showing individually, but the fact that his team was so well structured around him, I think already that goes and speaks volumes about him as a player.
Yeah, and I'm just going to say, right, for Bait to be able to get a comeback like this going when their highest rated player isn't even performing as well as he normally does is just such a good sign about the composure of the team. Like, they're like, okay, you know what, NPL, it's fine. You don't have to have your hands on the steering wheel. Just let Headtrick do the talking. Let Alex be the backseat gamer right there, right? Kills upon kills. That was just fantastic work.
Sinners, unfortunately, will be eliminated from contention of ESL Pro League through this mechanism at least. They will still be able to try and qualify through ESL Challenger Katowice later on in the year. In the meanwhile, guys, of course, if you guys want to watch more Counter-Strike, ESL Pro League is also going on right now, Season 20. So ESL CS and ESL CSB is where you can catch out all the action for those. For now, we've got to be signing off after sending off Bait into the lower bracket finals. We're going to see you guys again tomorrow. Same time, same place, same faces. See you then.